It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. We're off and running. We got an entire show planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, and most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Got some great guests coming up here. Kory Nelson's going to join us, former senior assistant attorney for the city and county of Denver, and talk about his time. If you were part of the show yesterday, you heard a brief glimpse of that. He had so much to talk about after years serving with the city and county of Denver. I invited him to come in today. He's going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour, 8 o'clock hour.
His story, just presenting his story about why he was suspended for 3 days.
Yeah.
It's shocking. We're going to go over that again. It is ridiculous dealing with the rules about illegal immigration and people's status inside of the city. He was suspended for 3 days over a phone call. Yeah, so we'll talk about that.
That is exactly right. And then the sheriff, Darren Weekly, joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. This kid that had been kidnapped 7 years ago, discovered in Highlands Ranch, is a fascinating story. We're going to hear from him in the 8 o'clock hour. We've got some cowboy poetry coming up, and then lots of news to talk about. The Gavin Newsom podcast with Charlie Kirk. Bill, it was like listening to our show.
Did you listen to it?
Yeah.
There's something that wasn't. Yeah, I've caught pieces of it, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They go back
yeah.
and forth, but they do so in kind of a respectful manner. So very interesting. We're going to cover some aspects of that. Mayor Mikey's got a new idea to bring people down to Colfax. He's going to bartend.
What?
Yeah.
So what? Are the drinks cheaper?
No.
Oh.
No, but you can go down and have the mayor of Denver pour you a drink, and he thinks that will solve the problems on nobody wanting to come downtown.
Because that was the reason we weren't going. Jeff and I often have talked about, hey, on a Friday night, let's go downtown, and Jeff's like, no, mayor's not bartending. There's no possible way we could do that. Why would we go? What would be the possible draw to go to downtown because Mayor Mike Johnston is not bartending? That was the problem we have had for months. I'm glad that he is finally getting the solution that the people are demanding. I'm glad that the Brain Trust has spent hours inside of a room that I'm sure had a whiteboard and some very expensive water on the table. Not tap water. They can't have that. Very expensive water that comes in fancy bottles, and they're not plastic. They got to be glass. So I'm certain that there was some aromatic scents in the room. They probably had a diffuser of some sort, some calm lights, and in their genius, they said the mayor needs to bartend.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, Bill,
great job.
You and I haven't talked about this, but I want to pick that creative brain of yours because the mayor is going to be bartending, Bill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We need to pull some jiu-jitsu on this and figure out a way to, overrun the place with conservatives and
fun.
Then order a very particular drink of some kind, right? We don't want to be rude to them, but I feel like if we know there's a place where he's going to be,
maybe we should be there.
Let's talk about it. Maybe we should be there.
Let's talk about it. There may be something there.
So we'll be covering this story. Speaking of people not going downtown, federal offices leaving the city of Denver over non-compliance with immigration laws. We'll be talking about that as well. So whole lots to cover. We need to hear from Blake, too. If you have an idea on what we should do now that Mayor Mikey's going to be bartending, give us a call, 303-696-1971. Or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. I just feel like this is a slow pitch over the middle of the plate.
Yeah.
And we just got to think through
what exactly we need to do here.
To the Grand Slam. Because we know exactly where he'll be. We know exactly what he's doing. And we could just have a lot of fun with this.
Let's see what we can do with this.
So in politics, this is called bracketing. And you do this to your political opponent in order to try to throw them off their game a little bit. And I've got a great bracketing story about the time that Barack Obama and Mitt Romney debated at DU. Okay,
yeah,
so
remember that.
Campaign manager sends me down there and he goes, Jeff, figure out a way to kind of mess with the Obama campaign to throw them off their game a little bit.
Yeah.
And all the college Democrats were in the middle of DU. And so they were having their little rally there. Yeah. So I get down there with my team and I'm like, which direction do you think Barack Obama's coming?
Oh, okay.
So we looked at the hotel, and do you remember they closed off all of I-25?
Yeah, they
with
did.
the big snow plows?
Yeah.
Right? And then, so we knew he was going to be coming this way, so I'm like, we could go to the center of DU and have a little counter protest with DU. But what if we lined the exit and University Boulevard with just tons of college Republicans, so that as Barry gets off the freeway, he's greeted. And you remember, he's the president of the United States. He's not used to protests like that right in his face. What if we greet him that way? So we're like, okay, let's figure this out. So he's going to come off this way. He'll come right down this off ramp. So he'll be south of DU. He's going to be northbound, get off at University Boulevard. Then he's going to turn left. Let's just put students there. So we put all these signs here. Motorcade comes right through. Dude, I'm 2 inches from the motorcade with Mitt Romney and anti-Barack Obama signs.
Oh, that's
now, if
great.
you remember, he didn't do that well in that debate.
Yeah, he didn't. Nope, not at all.
And I attribute it entirely to our little bracketing operation to throw him off his game.
Obviously, that
all those college Republicans
I agree.
right then and
Yes.
there. So
nice job.
You can come up with ways. It's not terrible.
No, not at all.
We're just messing with you a little bit. So
yeah, exactly.
We know where Mayor Mikey's going to be. Let's have some fun with it. But now I want to hear from Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, TGIF, Jeff and Billy. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of excitement downtown with the mayor, no doubt. We'll talk about that, and Jeff and Bill will talk about that all day. 30 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I would highly recommend this hobby to anybody. It's been the most fulfilling and worthwhile thing. I started with 6, I now have 35.
You have 35 chickens?
And I'm like the Pablo Escobar of my neighborhood.
Oh my God.
It's out.
Look at that. CNN Scott Jennings and Jeff have a lot in common. The great Scott Jennings and the great Jeff Hunt.
Spend our afternoons with farm animals, apparently.
That's right, man. You guys know what's going on. Got to get those eggs and chickens back in this country, right?
Yeah, I know you. I know y'all are concerned about egg prices. I think you should raise your own chickens, buy the coop for $700, get the food on a daily basis, water all the time and energy, and your egg prices will really go up. So, we're not in a position where the eggs are cheaper at the Hunt Family Ranch because we spent a lot just to get where we are.
Man, my wife is on me every day. We got to have chicken. I'm not, man, I do not want to go down that road. I'll call Jeff.
And in a segment we will call foreshadowing, there may be both a solution and a complication to this very problem hidden later in the show.
Really?
Yeah, very
hidden like a
very
Easter egg. Huh?
A very popular segment that comes up here in about 45 minutes.
Oh.
That we may be able to give Blake some information that could be a possible solution or a possible problem. But choices have to be made, gentlemen. Choices have to be made. We'll see what happens.
I cannot wait.
I will tell you, they're fun animals. We've got 2 flocks, and they live in separate little chicken huts on the property because roosters will fight each other, right? So you kind of keep them at a faraway distance. But we have one rooster that's just brand new, and he's like in his middle school days. So when he crows, his voice cracks. So it's like I got a 6th grade rooster.
Oh, when it's time to change it. That's a Brady Bunch reference. Billy probably remembers
Oh,
that,
yes,
Peter.
yes. Peter Briggs. Yep, Peter and
Hey,
Nicholas James Briggs.
here's what Scott Jennings has to say. Sounds like Jeff, I'm telling you.
Outrageous the amount of eggs I get every single day. Now, don't everybody come over at once. But
I did hear you sometimes bring them here to CNN and share them.
I have brought eggs here. Look, I think she was making light of the idea that backyard chicken farming is taking off. But what is true is that we killed millions upon millions upon millions of chickens, which is why egg prices are high today. What I hope is that the Agriculture Department looks at this chicken culling policy. I think we may have killed too many.
Well, there we go. So we will
They
figure it
are
out.
pretty easy to get back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just kind of let them do their thing.
Yes.
And lo and behold, little chicks are there.
That is so cool, man. I'm glad you guys do that. But yeah, we got to order some from you someday. Day 46 in DJT announcing a delay on tariffs on most products from Canada and Mexico. 47 signed an executive order that delays tariffs on all goods under the United States-Mexico Canada agreement until April 2nd. The USMCA makes the three North American nations a free trade zone. The art of the deal. He'll negotiate, so it's actually fair for all. Imagine that. Another executive order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Today we're signing, this is very historic, an executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. This is a promise that you made throughout the campaign, and today we're keeping that promise. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin that the federal government already owns, so it won't cost taxpayers a dime. This is like a digital Fort Knox for digital gold. And premature sales of Bitcoin over the past years cost American taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value because we didn't have a long-term strategy.
Right.
Now we do. So
And this is something you believe in fully?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
And the whole community believes in it.
Very good. And I made the promise, right?
Absolutely.
And that was the voice of David Sachs. 47 says he'll probably extend the deadline of the TikTok ban if a deal isn't reached. The president said he knows there's a lot of interest in the social media platform. Currently, the app's Chinese-owned company ByteDance has until April 5th to sell TikTok to someone based in the U.S. FBI New York Field Office Director James Dennehy, who told his office to dig in after Trump was elected, he was forced to resign, leaves the office with an entourage and bagpipes playing. Are you kidding me?
An extraordinary scene outside of the New York FBI office in the last hour. Assistant Director in charge, James Dennehy, who was forced to resign under pressure this week, left the building to cheers from hundreds of his colleagues and the sound of bagpipes. He was forced out after clashing with Donald Trump's Justice Department after the removal of senior FBI leaders and requests for the names of agents who worked on the January 6 cases. He told those...
That is ridiculous.
There's part of me
Really?
that likes it.
You like that?
Well,
Really?
if you're gonna go out, go out big. There's like elements of Office Space here that I just kind of
Okay,
find
I hear
funny, right? Where you're like,
Okay.
all right.
So
right.
the creative exit.
But yeah, no, it's totally over the top. It's like
Yeah.
a funeral for him.
Yes,
and the guy
definitely.
did it for himself.
Right,
And so there's
that's
like
what I'm
this
saying.
There's like this Michael Scott element.
See, I didn't watch the TV show, so
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what
Just
you're talking
like
about.
over the top, over emotional. I was so important to this company.
Wow.
That type of mentality this guy has. He
Wow.
hires his own bagpipes for his exit.
God, that's scary, man. A dude like that in the FBI. That is just
Should we
frightening to
blend
me.
bagpipes? Maybe, Bill, maybe that's what we do for Mayor Mike.
Yes.
There we go.
There you
We
go.
That's
bring
nice.
That's
bagpipes
perfect.
wherever-
How many could we
wherever
get
he's
in the bar?
bartending.
Get as many as possible.
Well, it is March.
And they all have to
so
play a different song.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, the feds are adding forced labor charges to the racketeering and sex crimes charges faced by jailed Sean Combs, a.k.a. Diddy. Prosecutors updated an indictment Thursday with allegations Combs forced employees to work under inhumane circumstances. Tucker had Sam Bankman-Fried on his show. He's serving 23 more years in jail for fraud. But guess who his cellmate is? It's Diddy.
Are you hanging with Diddy? I think he's in there with you.
He is. And I don't know. He's been kind.
So what's Diddy like?
Obviously I've only seen one piece of him, which is, Diddy in prison. And, he's been kind to people in the unit. He's been kind to me. It's a position no one wants to be in. Obviously he doesn't, I don't, as you said, it's kind of a soul crushing.
Yeah, I would say. Hey, the surcharge Denver residents pay to maintain the 911 system could be going up. Denver 911 has asked the city council to increase the monthly surcharge from $1.20 to a month to $2.12. The 92-cent increase would go toward hiring more staff and paying for technology to improve response times. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace and patio and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Avalanche over the Sharks 7-3 last night, 27 in Lafayette, 29 in Sheridan, 30 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
I think Elon Musk is a rock star. The tofu crowd is mad, but when you trim fat, pigs squeal. That's just the way the world works. That's the law.
Yes, it is. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Gavin Newsom making some news yesterday. New York Times. Newsom splits with Democrats on transgender athletes. Says it's deeply unfair. The remarks by...
Before we get deeply into this, I got to raise a point really early because it's going to be kind of... Sometimes the points I raise are stupid, but this is just early on. How does the governor of California have a podcast?
Because he has no more elections to run. I thought this too while I watched it. And it's an hour and 11 minutes too. The bro took that time out of his day.
That's my point right there. That's my point. You're running a state has an enormous economy, the largest economy in America, some of the largest in the entire world.
So the LA city burned down,
and you got time to take an hour out of your day to do a podcast, and it's a podcast where you're talking to Charlie Kirk. You're not talking to voters. You're not talking about solving the problems. You're doing a broadcast,
Yes, that's exactly right.
And you're the governor. I'm sorry, but Governor Polis came out today and goes, here's my new podcast. I'm going to spend an hour each week just talking to people. Shut up. Go back to work. Just seriously, how in the hell does the governor of California have time for a podcast? I waste a lot of time, my free time during the day. Yeah. I'm not running a giant state.
Well, it's the 2028 election. That's what it is.
Exactly, my friend. I'm glad that you got there. That is exactly the purpose. Yep. This is branding for the 2028 election because he's going to be the liberal California Joe Rogan. No, he's not. But that's the theory.
And Democrats saw how Trump used Joe Rogan and the podcast world so well.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're jumping in early. What's fascinating, though, is his pivot to the middle is not just a little bit. No. It's not over a small little bit over time. It's like, today I'm a totally new person.
It is palpable. It is.
Yes.
Yeah. If you would go back to his positions 3 years ago and look at him today,
last week,
it's not the same person. Like, the hell happened here? But well, bro's got a bro. So yeah, he did the podcast and with Charlie Kirk. I still that's what stopped me from listening to it yesterday. I'm like, how in the hell does the governor of California have a podcast?
To do this.
I couldn't get far enough into that to go beyond that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
what's
my fault.
interesting is it sounds a lot like the show.
It does when I was listening to bits of it. Yeah.
So and that's unique in this dynamic because I get criticism from my own side that I'm not.
I'm sorry, but you're also welcome.
Well, no, but that I'm not as vicious as I should be. Right? Like, you didn't pound him into the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm probably sure you get that from some of our text messages as well. Like,
yes, and other people in my social circle.
Right.
Social media and stuff like that. Yes, I get those messages. Yeah.
And what was unique about this conversation, which is well over an hour, is it's intense.
Yeah.
It's heated at certain points, and we'll play some of those clips, but it's not vicious.
No.
And that's a unique thing to strike in this political climate. And I often joke I'm in 2 marriages in my life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've got my wife that I'm married to, and you got to keep the peace in the home, you know? But I've also got you, and this show wouldn't last a week if it was always about winning debates.
No, it wouldn't. And it wouldn't last for either one of us.
Right.
And
because no one's going to go through that. Who wants to just...
No.
And frankly, people don't like listening to it.
No.
When you and I get, like, into the kind of mom and dad are fighting type of
yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking.
People are like, I'm tuning out.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to hear it. No. So it's a very unique thing you have to strike when you try to do
Oh, yeah, it's difficult. Yeah.
And I thought they did a good job yesterday.
Yeah, they did. And now, again, I haven't listened to the whole thing like you did. I'm probably, I would say, genuinely 35 to 40% is about all I listen to. That's all I've got out of it. So I do not have the full breadth of the conversation. But yeah.
You get a flavor of it.
Yeah, I was impressed that it went that well. And it was that cordial. And they were able to create clash without creating, as you said, just an uncomfortable conversation. It was good.
Right. So the big news, though, is that Newsom is splitting. I want to get to the transport, but this
I got to talk about that.
Like the book ban conversation gives you a flavor of what it's like. Okay.
We dislike, for the record, but it's what
feels like that sometimes. I mean, how about the book ban stuff? On a serious note, 4,240 books or titles, libraries and schools were banned in 2023. Is that not as a conservative?
Well, it depends. I mean, like, I think we can both agree pornography should not be taught to 9-year-olds.
Fair point.
Okay,
fair.
So that's a book ban.
All right. Well, there were some other books.
Oh, no.
Bill O'Reilly's
that
book
was the
banned.
Moms for Liberty contention. Time out.
Yeah.
Like, I agree on Bill O'Reilly. The Moms for Liberty movement that you made a big thing of was just no porn to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
We agree. So those books should be banned.
Well, okay.
So what we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that include the Bible?
Ban. Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point. Is that a fair point?
I don't think that's fair.
And as a man
all.
of faith, and I deeply admire that about you.
Thank you.
Sincerely.
Yes, but no, I mean, again, the Song of Solomon is rather risque.
No, it's
but
very,
what we're talking about in these books is not just the words; it's also the images. And again, your audience can look at the images themselves.
Okay.
It's highly graphic. But again,
it seems a banning binge. I mean, at next level, sort of cancel culture.
But why do you think moms are doing that? Do you think it's because they want to have mind control, or do you think that they have come across incident of highly provocative material?
I love moms, but this moms, I mean, we don't have to get into Moms for Liberty. It seems
you brought up the book bans,
deeply organized for a larger agenda, but that's my humble opinion.
No, but let me just, kind of complete the point. Is that it's easy to just call it kind of a book ban, but when you actually have to read some of these books, it will take your breath away of some of this stuff, right? You're like, okay, we're teaching a 10-year-old how to put a condom on.
I know. I just have a problem with, who the hell is going to decide that? Government? I mean, Ron DeSantis is going to decide what I can read or say in the boardroom, in the classroom.
This is the exercise of politics, though.
Yeah.
The exercise of politics is the highest form of community because it blends morality and sociability. So what we do is we have discussion and elections, and we have boards and commissions, right? And we as a people say, okay, no porn for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that's politics, right? I mean, I'm not saying that there's
we got to stress test whether the Bible's included in that. I don't even want to go forward anymore on this. No, it's tough, but this is this becomes a dialectic.
I have heard a lot. I've never heard. That's interesting, though.
It's a provocative. I don't mean to offend. Again, I deeply don't mean to offend. By the way, Father Kaz would be offended with me.
If you think the Bible's pornographic,
but there's most of these books are quote unquote not pornographic. There's sections that can affect
of images that are very violating to young kids.
Some we would agree on that.
Can I just say one other thing? If you want to learn, Governor, and I'm happy that there is a movement of moms that's growing where they feel as if our kids are being hypersexualized. And I agree with them that they have to hear topics.
Social media?
Well, both in the social media and the classroom.
Particular.
I listened to that and I was like, dude, we've had that exact same debate. Along those exact same lines.
Yes.
Bringing up the exact same points.
Exact same points, yes. Yeah, who defines pornography?
Right.
The Bible
the
as far as
Bible
historical
side
reference.
of it.
Yes, exactly.
And I felt Charlie missed the opportunity to go, the Bible, which has been the key book in shaping Western civilization, is not the same as pornography. He missed that argument line. But,
the guy from the school district who goes in studio.
Yeah,
the same conversation.
Same exact
It is the same exact conversation.
I found that fun, and what makes our show super unique.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's rare that it happens out there, but these conversations are important, and it's hard to do it in a way that's respectful to other people.
And we do it daily.
Every day.
Every day. I love the fact that I was accompanied by a giant sigh. That said so much more than anything else. I love you. You're the best. This is so much fun. Yeah, we do.
So the big headline, though, was Gavin Newsom splitting on the transgender issue from Democrats. Even the New York Times picked it up.
This was a surprise.
Yeah. And this is Gavin Newsom getting ready for 2028. If you don't see what that is about, he's trying to personalize himself. He's trying to drop the deep left. Look, Kamala Harris did not win a presidential election, U.S. Senator from California. And if you remember, Kamala Harris was San Francisco, and then the Attorney General of California, then Senator. So the message that was sent in 2024 was, you're too far to the left.
Yeah.
If you're in leadership in California right now. So you got to tack to the middle.
Yep. And what was the one of the issues that resonated the most, not necessarily all being a voting issue that we heard post-election in some of the exit polls and some of the follow-up polls afterwards, but a layer below what people's top issues were, the thing that she was branded with the most was the transgender issue and her position on it. So while they disagreed with her on immigration and the economy, the personality characteristics and her belief system was defined there. And that became a no-go for many, many voters. And Gavin Newsom is trying to get ahead of that so that he doesn't have to go back like Kamala did in the for the previous years. Jungle primary, when she was going through the primary and she said something that was super lib because she was trying to be the super lib that was trying to win the Democrat nomination at that time when Bernie Sanders was running in front of everybody else. So she was trying to outlib Bernie and it came back and bit her. And so Gavin is trying to do the same CIY but 180 degrees, and it's great to listen to.
And I want you to note that Gavin Newsom essentially, from my perspective, you can correct me, Bill, but he embraces your position on this.
Yes, yeah.
Which is, it's not a fair thing for girls to have to deal with a dude in these competitive sports.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he feels deeply about how we treat people that are transgender, which
Yes.
is a personal issue for you.
And I would go one more
Yeah.
step and say it is also not fair to tell these trans athletes that you can't compete. But it doesn't mean that it's okay. That we can acknowledge that we are cutting this group out of this ability to participate in this group of sports against biological females. And that is not fair to them, but this is the thing that we are going to do right now. And we can make those accommodations. And the thing is that I would submit that it is my thing that I have a big heart about treating them fairly and honoring them as an individual and a person. That if we acknowledged, yes, we understand that isn't fair, that is treating them more as a human and more as a person and acknowledging who they are than by even allowing them to compete in sports.
Yeah.
I would say that you're treating them fairly. You're saying, no, this is not something we're going to do. We understand it hurts. We're taking away that opportunity, but this is what we feel. And it's also not fair to the biological girls, 110%. It's not.
So this is Gavin Newsom, Charlie Kirk discussing trans sports, making all the headlines, including New York Times.
On social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know,
are most
this
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same
Oh, you
thing.
didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it.
What do you-
Go ahead, go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some
Get
advice.
better ideas, Governor.
Is
Like,
it
for
ideas?
example, I mean, like, if you want to, like, you have an opportunity to, like, run to the middle and seize this mantle. Obviously,
Right.
you're talking to me of all people.
Yeah.
So, like, you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
So
it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak out against this young man, A.B. Hernandez, who right now is going to win the state championship in the long jump? I can see you wrestling with it.
No, I'm not wrestling. I'm not wrestling with the fairness issue. I totally agree with you. By the way, as someone with 4 kids, I think
and
got
2 daughters, right?
2 daughters.
And I have a daughter too.
And a wife that went, God forbid, to Stanford and played on the junior national soccer team, and a guy who got into college only because I was left-handed and could throw a baseball a little bit or hit the ball for a little bit. So I revere sports, and so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue at another level.
Not weaponize. That's
well, weaponize may be pejorative. You're right, but you were able to
shine a light on,
highlight it in a way that, frankly, there are not that many out. We're talking about, I think, the NC2A, 510,000? No, but I just didn't realize.
It's 890 medals and trophies that we know of in the last 5 years. That's a lot.
No, so let me step back, say completely fair on the issue of fairness. I completely agree. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed on the issue?
No, I get it.
So that's a big move. You have a good conversation happening there, but the biggest news out of that is you have the governor of the largest Democratic state in America saying he recognizes the unfairness of allowing men to compete in women's sports. That is a shift for the progressive wing.
That is a
100%.
sea change. That is an absolute sea change in the direction they were going. Yes. That is huge and created some earthquakes in politics yesterday. And oddly enough, as you talked about earlier, conversation we've had several times.
Yeah, right?
So if anybody's listening here and then was listening to their podcast, you're like, oh, I've heard this before.
Doug texting in saying, morning, guys. Do you think Newsom is taking a page out of the Post playbook and trying to appear moderate for a potential run for the presidency? 100%.
Yes.
That is exactly what he's doing. So here's the question I have for listeners. Can he do it?
Ooh.
He actually comes across as quite likable in that podcast.
He does.
So to the person that just kind of tunes in and out, like I will never vote for Gavin Newsom based upon policy.
Yeah.
And I think he's swarmy. But to the person that just kind of airdrops in to politics, watches clips in that and goes, he seems like a rather, the old adage, well, I'd like to go have a beer with that guy.
And he is, and what I'll say, he's a very good politician in the transactional nature, meaning the individual relationships, going out and pressing the flesh and talking to crowds and talking to individuals, either in large groups, small groups, or individually. He is very, very good at that. He is a very persuasive communicator and has enough charisma and enough of the good looks in order to endear himself to someone that is either a passive viewer of politics or someone that is malleable, someone that isn't necessarily identified on either side. And that's what he's shooting for. He is shooting for that.
That is exactly right. So can he achieve it? Would you vote for Gavin Newsom over Jared Polis if it was a Democrat primary? Or is this guy so far in the tank you don't buy it? He's just a progressive. He's trying to change the color of his feathers in an effort to win an election, and you never vote for him. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. And what do you think of Charlie Kirk going on the podcast?
Smart. I know that Chris DeGaulle earlier than us said he didn't think it was a good idea. I thought it was a bad move. Said that Kirk did a very good job, but was a mistake, and said that if Stegall was offered the opportunity, he wouldn't go. And I think that is a mistake. I think this is absolutely what Charlie Kirk should have done, and he acquitted himself very, very well. The conversation was good because of how he approached it. And there were some really good points that I heard, again, not the entire conversation, of intellectual honesty on both of their parts, acknowledging both strengths and weaknesses of the other side and their own side. He did a very good job. I was impressed with what he did. And Stegall's refusal to enter into the element of the opposition, I think, is a mistake. But you and I are forced to do that between this glass each and every day. So we're used to it. We understand how this works and how to do this properly.
To hear from you. Phone lines are open. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump says he is suspending the security clearances of attorneys at a law firm involved in launching since-discredited opposition research during the 2016 presidential campaign, accusing Trump of colluding with Russia. The sanction against Perkins Coie, who worked on behalf of Hillary Clinton, is the latest in a series of moves by Trump and his administration, weeding out corruption and weaponization in D.C., including Justice Department prosecutors, career intelligence officials, and most recently, private practice attorneys. Taken together, the actions appear to send a message that the weaponization of government will not be tolerated, and to also deter government officials from engaging in unethical, possibly illegal activities, then pulling in private sector workers to help them. Elon Musk is telling Republican lawmakers that he's not to blame for the firings of thousands of federal workers as he follows President Donald Trump's directive to help with downsizing the government. He's saying in private meetings this week that those decisions are left to federal agencies. Musk is one of President Donald Trump's top advisors when it comes to eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. His message came as Republicans publicly support his work at the Department of Government Efficiency. Trump weighed in after a cabinet meeting, saying he's instructed the department secretaries to work with DOJ, but to be very precise about which workers will stay or go.
Elon has been really teaching everybody about the numbers that you can do. But what I want the numbers, but I also want to keep the good people. We want to get rid of the people that aren't working, that aren't showing up, and have a lot of problems. And so they're working together with Elon, and I think we're doing a really great job. We're cutting it down. We have to, for the sake of our country. You can't have that kind of fat. It's bloat.
The president of a small federal agency that supports investment in African countries sued to block the Trump administration from shutting it down. Ward Brem, the president and CEO of the U.S. African Development Foundation, President Donald Trump do not have the authority to shut down the agency, which was created by Congress. The Trump administration has mandated Elon Musk's DOJ to shrink the size of the federal government and root out waste, fraud, and abuse. A South Carolina man convicted of murder is scheduled to be executed by a firing squad Friday night. Brad Sigmund beat to death his ex-girlfriend's parents with a baseball bat as part of a botched kidnapping plan in 2001. The 67-year-old man will be the first person to die by firing squad in the U.S. since 2010, and just the fourth since the death penalty resumed in the U.S. 49 years ago. 3 volunteer shooters positioned 15 feet away will fire bullets at a target over Sigmund's heart. The distance is the same as that between the free throw line to the backboard on a basketball court. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking the governor of California and his all of a sudden pivot to the middle, at least on women or men competing in women's sports. Lots of text messages coming in on this one. Jason in Denver, it's refreshing to see a high-profile conservative radio host and liberal politician have a thoughtful, respectful discussion. I'd like to see more of that. Yeah, it's a good podcast. I mean, it's a lot of like what we do here, so I found it.
Yeah, it is.
Very, very cool. 5556, they call guys like Newsom chameleons. Don't be duped by Newsom, he says. 0459, Newsom is smart and he is likable. I know people listening will say he's too swarmy, but they also bought Trump Bibles and somehow support him, even though Trump had some things in his past with particular actresses.
And the thing I would look at is, instead of the Bible thing, though, when you talk about the chameleon, I would go to our current vice president, who has flipped 180 degrees from being anti-Trump, never Trump, to now running as the vice president and being inside the administration. So I think that being a chameleon in certain levels of politics absolutely exists over and over and over and over again. It isn't the purview of one side or the other. It's a purview of who wants to be in power. that changes a lot of things. Yes.
Let's go to the phone lines. Ron Greeley. Good morning, Ron. What did you think of Gavin Newsom and a sudden pivot to the middle on trans issues?
Yeah, morning.
Morning, guys. Yeah, that is scary because he is. I don't like the guy, but when I see him, I like the guy. He looks good. He talks good. He's got that smile. He's total California, right? Prince of Evil is just like that, isn't he? Real handsome, can tell you everything you want to hear, and in reality, there's ulterior motive. And that,
Ron, you're right. That smile, you're right. That was one of the things. I only had one time where I was in the same room with Clinton, and Clinton, I didn't get it until I was in the room. Like, oh, okay, you can almost feel the charisma that radiated off that man. I'm not taking a position on his politics saying he was a good or a bad president. What I'm saying is, dude had something, and I got it. And he had that smile. What you're talking about with Newsom, he had that smile that somehow disarmed you, and it was ridiculous to see in person. It's just
guys,
crazy
I just
to
don't
watch.
see it. It creeps me out.
And you're right.
Oh, I'm sure I get it.
You're right as far as Bill Clinton too, because I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, look at these two. Between him and Al Gore, it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are awesome. And well, it is what it is, right?
Ron, so, I'll point this out. Doug texted this, and what's the old saying? Don't pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they do.
Yep.
And Doug saying I couldn't vote for either Polis or Newsom. Ron, great call. We've got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, it's that time of morning. I think we all need it on a Friday, Billy. Yeah. Some You Choose the News Loser Edition.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions. These are the stories that Jeff and Blake felt weren't worthy of our attention. It's a loser edition. You choose the news.
You are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
It's a losers club.
Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser.
You are such a loser.
Loser.
Yes, loser. But we are bringing one winner into this game. We are going to be joined by a very special guest. Senior Assistant City Attorney and City of County of Denver, Kory Nelson, will be making one of our choices this morning. He will get choice number 3. So these are the stories that Jeff and Blake ignored, felt were unworthy.
You know, Bill,
shouldn't listen to.
It's kind of like when we were in high school and the cool kid came to hang out with us, and we were the losers in the cafeteria, and all of a sudden, the star football player.
Yeah, I know. Like, all of a sudden, we're cool.
Hey, you want to grab some lunch?
Yeah, he's hanging at our table. It's kind of neat. For one day, nobody's going to steal my brownie. So it'll be good. We're okay. We're good with this one. Alrighty. Now, gentlemen, here are your choices this morning. And we did have a hint earlier of one piece of subject matter early on in the show if you were paying attention. There is an Easter egg hidden here. Yes, pun intended. Alrighty, gentlemen. Headline number 1, it's gonna be fire. Headline number 2, DIY, more expensive. Headline number 3, not following instructions. And headline number 4, Shaggy did it first. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
DIY, more expensive.
Oh, look at this. You found the winner. Yes.
I knew what you were talking about.
Amid egg shortages and soaring prices, some customers are taking a crack at a fresh alternative. Yeah, see what I did there? Yeah, okay, it was stupid. But still, there are companies that are starting up out there called Rent a Chicken. They can do most of the hard work for you. You can rent chickens and have them delivered to your house. That even comes with a portable coop, something that Jeff spent $700 on. Standard rental is 2 chickens. Generally, a chicken is going to produce 1 egg a week. So that means if you rent the 2, you'll get about 14 eggs per week. This is great. How much does it cost? Well, standard rental of 2 chickens is going to run you just about $500 for 6 months. 4 chickens is going to cost you about $1,000 a month. Those of you that are very, very good with the maths is going to understand that you're paying just about $20 for every 14 eggs. More expensive than you have in the store.
Nice. And you got to do all the work.
Yes, you have to do all the work. You have to clean them up. But again, the chickens producing the eggs at the end of the day are going to cost you more in your backyard than even if you're paying the high prices at the store. Yes, that's going to help you out in a little conversation you'll have this weekend, Blake. Just letting you know.
Man,
yes,
thank you for that information.
You are welcome. And again, the math
really
is it doesn't matter if you're racing them yourself or if you rent them. It's going to run you about $20 for every 14 eggs, or $20 for every 14 eggs. Yeah,
man, that's good stuff. Thank you for the ammo.
You are welcome. See, every once in a while we also get to learn.
Yes.
It's infrequent, but still.
It's amazing.
Yes. Alrighty, Blake, your choice, sir. It's going to be fire, not following instructions, or Shaggy did it first.
Fire.
Yeah, it's going to be fire. Hey, a bunch of idiots have already bought tickets to the 2nd annual Fire Festival, the one that went off so well the first time it never actually existed.
I love that documentary.
Yes, and so now they're coming back and they're going to see how many stupid people are willing to buy tickets for round number 2. They are already purchasing tickets despite the fact that they have no venue. Now, while the scammer that went to jail over the first festival is saying he has secured a venue in Mexico, the government in the area says we have no idea what this loser is talking about. He says nothing has been secured. Nobody's signed any contracts. There are no performers, but people are buying tickets. Yes, P.T. Barnum was right.
Funny.
Yes, yes. So,
all right, we got to get to Kory here.
And Kory Nelson, final choice this morning, sir. Special guest, not following instructions, or Shaggy did it first.
What I'm best at, not following instructions.
Not following instructions. Yes, police are appealing for help from the public after some people weren't paying attention to the sign they stole from a church in England. There were some very, very old documents hanging on the wall, one of which was an elaborate painting that said, "Thou shalt not steal." Yes, someone came into the church and stole the "Thou shalt not steal" painting.
Absolutely something I would have done in high school.
Exactly. Notably, there are a series of the 10 Commandments on these paintings on the wall of the church, and one of the ones they stole is "Thou shalt not steal."
Oh my goodness!
Which they got it back at their hideout they're pointing at and taking selfies with. But yes, that's the end of You Choose the News. That's
Lord
all the
works
silliness
in
this morning.
mysterious ways.
Yes.
Maybe we'll see a conversion there. All right, Kory Nelson's going to join us next. He's the former senior assistant attorney for the city and county of Denver. He's got a lot to talk about. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader. We are News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. You're a doer. You're out there making it happen. You're heading to work. You're raising a family. You're making the community a better place. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Speaking of that, dude, I just got to read Jason in Denver's text message because it's hilarious. $500 for a rented chicken. How much could a chicken cost? Costco sells whole rotisserie chickens for $3.99. I'm in the wrong business. And dudes So there's a certain thing happening right now at Murdoch's Big R. This is when the little chicks come out. So lots of opportunities for chicken purchases. But if you want to stay away from that, keep your ladies away. They're like drawn. It's like a magnet.
Yes.
Speaking of magnets, Bill, you're a magnet.
Yeah, I am. I'm a magnet for disagreements sometimes. And I want to take a moment just to talk to the audience for a second about the conversation that we had yesterday with Sherronna Bishop. Went back and listened to it a couple of times, and I just want to share with everyone that I'm really thankful that we had a chance to have her on and hear her side of the story. But also I was thankful that we were able to hear the long pile of BS that she traffics in. I'm thankful that she was able to admit during the show at one point that what Tina did was wrong. But I also do want to address this because I have some regrets about what happened yesterday. I regret deeply giving her a platform and giving her that much time. The purpose of her being on the show was misrepresented to me. I was under the impression that we were going to have a conversation and a debate. That's how we do the show. That's what we talked about last hour with Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk. But if you listen to the show, it was obvious within the first 60 seconds that was not her intent of being here on the show. She came here to attack me. She had no interest in a conversation or a debate. This is evidenced by the first 60 seconds when, among other things, she makes a couple of non sequitur charges about listening to a previous hour of which we hadn't been discussing. And a reminder of some of the things that happened. There was a list of people that Blake played yesterday during the news, and she was talking about those people being politically persecuted and persecuted through the courts over speaking about questions about election fraud. None of those people in that list have been able to provide any proof of their alleged election fraud when given the opportunity in court. They never have walked in and placed the proof on the table and said, here is what it is. And every time it has been looked at, their alleged proof has fallen apart. Despite Sherronna's claim that what Tina did was legal, it wasn't the claim of her lawyer in court. Her lawyer claimed a necessary evil argument, that the ends justify the means, that Tina had to break the law in order to find the greater fraud. She didn't prove the greater fraud. That's basically what the issue was. The lawyer didn't argue what Sherronna argued yesterday, because when people are bound by the evidentiary rules of a court system, they make different arguments. It's not the same when you come out on a podcast or even on a radio show, what those evidentiary rules are. I checked with two sources yesterday. Sherronna's claim about the 20,000 documents, despite what she said, those files are not required by state or federal law to be retained. She is being willfully ignorant, in my opinion, on this law. She knows what the law is, but she's being willfully ignorant in order to make her point on it. And if anybody asks, and I understand, I have a heart for Tina. I think that she is in a bad situation. Unfortunately, I disagree with people supporting her because I believe she's in the situation because of her choices. And it's awful. And I am all behind any support, any rallies, any money, any fundraising you want to give for Tina Peters. Yes, and we will continue to offer the ability to anyone associated with those type of events to come on the air. I think that's fair. But I also would ask our listeners that if your boss or your fellow coworker said they need your help doing something that is totally legal, but in order to do this, we needed to encrypt our communications. We needed to turn off security cameras in a sensitive area. We need to allow an individual into that sensitive area at night when nobody else is around and access the computers, then suggest that you take one of those encrypted servers out of the secure area and give it to someone else, and then also lie about an ID and the identification of a person who comes in to watch a computer rebuild. If one of your coworkers or your boss asks you to do something like that and they say it's totally legal, I will leave it up to you, our audience, to judge whether or not you think what they're asking you to do is totally legal. Again, thankful that we had the time, but I have regrets about giving her the time and the platform because why she came here was misrepresented to me.
I don't know if it was misrepresented. She was there through all of it. And we've had a number of people on the show debate this issue, and you've done a fine job representing your side, and now you've become kind of this person that people want to debate over the Tina Peters. And so I felt that the person that was there through all this, wanting to come on and have a conversation about it, was great. She did say, and she texted me separately after this, she couldn't see you with the Zoom. And so she couldn't get a sense of you wanting to either step in or have a conversation. That was her perspective. She said if she had known that, this is just her, and I'm just communicating what she sent to me, but she said if I could have seen him, I would have known that he was trying to get a word in.
Yeah. The issue to me is that I understand, and again, I'm just saying that it was misrepresented, the purpose, and she's fine to have a conversation and debate, but go back and listen to the first 60 to 120 seconds. That's not how it started. That's not how she came on. That's not where she led. That wasn't her purpose and intent of the communication. The purpose and intent of the communication was to attack me. And I'm perfectly happy to have the conversation and debate on the subject with anybody at all. That's fine and it's fair. And I'm happy to defend where I am in my positions, and I'm happy to admit that when I'm wrong. But if you go back and all you need is the first 120 seconds of that comment, of that conversation, it is obvious she is not here to have a conversation or a debate. She came here to attack me, and I regret giving her the space and the platform to do that. That was a mistake that I will not be making again. Not saying that people that have that position aren't allowed on the show.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I am not going to make that mistake again. And that's it. I just appreciate the time.
All right, there you go. All right, well, coming up, we're going to pivot now. We've got Kory Nelson live in studio, former senior assistant attorney of the city and county of Denver, 34 years with them. He's got some particular insights. In one case, even putting a letter together that he sent to Representative Lauren Boebert about some of the city's sanctuary city policies. You're not going to want to miss
about how
this
he was
conversation.
suspended, with the reason and why he was suspended. This is going to be shocking. It dropped my jaw yesterday when he shared it with us. We
Not going to want to miss this conversation, but now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, and thank you, Jeff and Billy. 29 and mostly cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 37 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a nearly 1 month tariff delay on most products from Canada and Mexico is being announced. DJT signed an executive order Thursday that delays tariffs on all goods under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. The USMCA makes the three North American nations a free trade zone. And the crook, Justin Trudeau, just crying to his constituents on Thursday.
On a personal level, I've made sure that every single day in this office, I put Canadians first, that I have people's backs. And that's why I'm here to tell you all, we got you. Even in the very last days of this government, we will not let Canadians down today and long into the future.
Yeah, that guy. 47 says he'll decide if he's going to revoke the protected status for Ukrainian refugees soon. There were mixed reports Thursday about whether Trump would strip 240,000 Ukrainians of their temporary legal status in the U.S. Trump said that he's not looking to hurt anybody, and he'll be making a decision on the matter in the coming weeks.
Excuse me, Blake, just for a sec here. I just have to admit, I was doing something else for a second, and I tuned back into the show there, and the portion that you were on was, and Trump is going to strip. And hang on, wait. I just want to share the visual there. I came in the wrong portion of the conversation there. Yeah, I had to share that. I'm just like, hang on.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that happens to me all the time on this show. I turned you and Jeff up for 10 seconds. I'm like, what?
Yes, what the hell happened? What happened here? Okay, I'm sorry. I had to interrupt. That was just the strangest thing for me this morning. Thank you. Man. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. I actually turned up one of your callers last hour, and he's going, I just love looking at Newsom.
Yes, yes, exactly.
I'm like, dude, what is going on?
What is this? Yes, exactly.
DJT talked a little about messy NBC and the two anchor clowns.
Worse than CNN is MSDNC, which is the worst. And the good news is very few people watch them anymore. They have lost such credibility. And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility.
USAID did, though. More freaking corruption exposed. John Podesta and the EPA ripping off $375 billion using a slush fund under the Biden administration. WTF, it is endless. Jeff and Bill talked about California Governor Gavin Newsom and his podcast with Charlie Kirk. Newsom trying to look moderate. What a fraud. But his son speaks for a lot of young people in this country.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed, he's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, Craig, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. Once one day.
The point is
great one. He would have learned a lot more if he would have gone to the podcast, though, because Charlie was there. Representative Al Green still crying after getting booted out during DJT's speech 2 nights ago.
My intentionality was to walk out. I gathered my coat, I had my cane, and I was going to make my departure. But as I was doing so, the president had just made his statement about having not a landslide, but having a mandate. And I was caught up in the moment. I didn't go to do what I did. I was caught up in the moment, and I turned and I said to him, you don't have a mandate to cut Medicaid.
And he's getting his articles of impeachment all ready to go, Al Green. South Carolina inmate will be put to death today unless it's stopped by Governor Henry McMaster. This evening's execution of Brad Sigmund will be the first ever by a firing squad in South Carolina in modern history.
I don't want to laugh at this, but if you're going to go out...
I just did.
What the hell of a way to Kory did with a cigarette in his mouth?
Man.
Blindfolded, cigarette.
I think I heard that. Man, no doubt. I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, would you,
goodness.
if you're going to go out, would you want to lie on a table and like a glass, like in a fish bowl with a shot in your arm that way, or a firing squad, or I think a guillotine? If I knew I was going out, the guillotine.
Really? Oh, no.
They invented that because it's the quickest way. You'd rather get shot or pumped full of medicine, like on a table, like in a hospital.
God, I don't know. The firing squad, though.
I looked it up. They don't shoot the head; they shoot the heart.
Yeah. Then leave it to me to make this one weird. I'm choosing skydiving, but no parachute. That's what I want to do. I mean, if I'm at that point, let me jump out of the plane and just all the way down and let me hit that ground. Because it's only going to hurt the last like 2 inches. Until then, it's going to be a great view. I'm just saying that if I get the choice, I'm doing skydiving, no parachute. But again, I'm wired a little differently.
Boy,
Blake,
that would
if
be
you
fun.
had to choose, you were sentenced to death by some corrupt progressive regime. The communists have totally taken over, and the last choice they give you is the ability to go out. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think I got it. No, I can't do that.
Yes, you
There's
can.
no
Come on.
way.
That's gonna be so
I
awesome.
couldn't do that
There's
either.
no
That'd be so
way.
awesome.
It would
You'd
be
have a
2
heart
minutes of
attack before
terror.
you hit the
No,
ground.
you know it's going to end. So it just, it's going to end one way or the other. At
bring
least
up
you got
a
a
good
good view
point.
and a lot of fun at the end there. Much better than laying on the table.
I just think the dumbest way to do it is to lie on a table, like you're in a hospital room,
sure.
and you have this glass. It's like the glass you and I have here in the studio, Bill. And I got to sit there and watch a lot of people while they just
wait for me to
needle
die.
in my
my arm.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah,
I'm going out with a
worst.
GoPro and screaming. Absolutely. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think I'd take the firing squad, honestly.
Kory?
I'd like to go out like Mel Gibson, being in that movie, being
Braveheart.
Yeah, being being quartered.
Quartered, and then they rip open your intestines.
I want the people to be shocked and remember me.
Freedom!
This got dark real quick.
I'm telling you, man.
You gotta remember.
I've been thinking about that too long. Oh man,
Guys, they invented the guillotine for a reason. And the whole reason was it's like the quickest way to kill somebody. They don't feel anything. You're just done.
Your brain is still going, though. Your brain.
I've heard that maybe for a second you're staring up at the sky or the bottom of a basket or something as your head rolled in. But firing squad, really? You're going to sit there for a second. You're not going to die immediately.
Yeah, I think I'd take that.
Come on.
But this idea of having a cigarette. Now, how about the cigarette and the guillotine so you get a few puffs in?
We can bring a vape while we're skydiving. we can knock these things out, guys. I'm just saying. There's solutions here.
See, man, I'd like to go out skiing off a cliff. I'm a skier. So if you're gonna do something big,
I like that.
Off a cliff.
That would be a hell of a Warren.
It's too cold.
Oh yeah.
What is the movie? What are those movies called? The ski movies. Warren
Miller.
Warren Miller.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Kory Nelson. I could just hear his voice.
Yes. Warren Miller Execution Series, Volume 2. Yes. That's it. Yes.
World record for somersaults.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely Friday in this show today.
Yeah, Kory Nelson is being executed, but also going for the world record in continuous somersaults off a ramp.
Don't give too many people ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Sheriff Darren Weekly's turned the car around.
Yeah, he's like, there's no way.
No, I'm not joining this show at 8
He's going to send you a
o'clock.
text message. There is an emergency.
He's going to follow this.
Yeah.
Okay, Darren, it's all right, buddy. It's safe. Come on in.
Yeah.
On that note, I hate to tell you this story, guys, but people who have surgery on Fridays appear to face a greater risk of death and complications. Did you know that? Team of Houston Methodist Hospital. They looked at 25 common procedures and found that the risks went up compared to people who were treated earlier in the week. So, if
do you think that's because the doctors and nurses are checking out, ready to hit the weekend?
So. It's called the weekend effect.
Sew them up.
I think so.
Yeah,
I've heard stories.
Where'd the scalpel go? I don't know. Just sew them up. We'll find it Monday. Exactly. I got a tea time here in half an hour. We got to go.
Yeah, if they're talking about golf during the surgery, right before,
you're in trouble.
Absolutely. All right, the Avalanche over the Sharks 7-3, 27 in Littleton, 27 in Broomfield, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Officer or agent, DJ Daniel, all of the above.
It really don't matter to me. I love women, so I don't care.
That's amazing.
She's asking him what he wants to be called, and he goes, I don't care. I just love women.
Yeah, basically that's what he said.
13-year-old.
And then he hugged her, man. It was awesome. He's hugging her. He's like, man, I don't care. I love women, man.
Didn't he say like he's 52 years old and the 13-year-old?
Yeah.
You can call me whatever you want, honey.
Yeah, I told these guys yesterday that he says that because he's had 13 brain surgeries, he really his personality has changed like 13 times. So I can understand
what
that.
A gift he is.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
The world loves a character, and he is one.
Yeah, man, he is, no doubt. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It'll be a chilly Friday along the Front Range. We may have some areas of morning fog, and there may be some snow showers and flurries around during the day today. It'll be chilly, highs only reaching the mid-30s. Tonight, any flurries ending, lows lower 20s. The weekend will be fair. 40s and low 50s and sunny Saturday, sunny Sunday and Monday. We could break 60 Sunday and Monday, and through Monday, mostly dry, increasingly cloudy, a little cooler Tuesday and Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. It'll be a chilly Friday along the Front Range. We may have some areas of morning fog, and there may be some snow showers and flurries around during the day today. It'll be chilly, highs only reaching the mid-30s. Tonight, any flurries ending, lows lower 20s. The weekend will be fair. 40s and low 50s.
All right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Sunny,
Text
Sunday,
messages are hot.
We could break
Janet
60
wondering
Sunday
how on
and
earth
Monday.
we got onto how do you want to get killed topic.
Don't know what happened. It's Friday.
1451. Hey, Bill, now the term take a flying leap has a new meaning on the show.
Yes, it does.
Breadman, bring back the hangman. Supposed to be quick and brought to you by the ACLU.
Well done. Nice reference.
Joining us live in studio, good friend of the show. I always loved when he called and joined the conversation, and now he's freed up a lot more time. 34 years as a senior assistant attorney for the city and county of Denver. He's now retired. Kory Nelson joins us live in studio. And Kory, pull the mic a little bit closer to you so we can hear your voice nice and loud and clear. But 34 years, you sent a letter to Lauren Boebert in light of the March 5th hearing, talking about some of the stuff you've seen inside the city and county of Denver as it relates to illegal immigration. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show, Kory.
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be back. Nice to be back. I appreciate Billy's debater. We're both former debaters, and I appreciate Billy's debating skills. So,
and I appreciate there are times that Kory will send text messages off air and say, "Did you think about this?" I'm like, "Oh, damn, that's a good point." Yeah, often, very often.
So, 34 years.
Yeah.
And you had your own personal run-ins on this illegal immigration issue.
Just to be clear, I retired January 1st. Just to be clear, I'm no longer an employee of the city and county of Denver, so everything that I'm saying I can speak about. So, without
can they, or
consequences.
can they threaten you with pension stuff? Or
No,
you're freed up, huh?
Or skydiving?
Yep.
Just a reference from earlier.
If they offer me a plane ride, I might hesitate.
Probably smart. Yes, probably smart.
Sure.
So tell us about the letter you sent to Lauren Boebert.
Well, when I heard the mayor making public statements that the city and county of Denver collaborates with federal law enforcement, so I had to throw a yellow flag. That's just not true. I can speak from not only from a personal experience, but because I know the law. Back in 2017, the city and county of Denver, the city council passed an ordinance that actually prohibits any employee from even talking to federal immigration officials. So you can't talk to them. I don't know how you can collaborate. And so I wanted to bring that information because it's not a matter of policy. It's a matter of law. It's actually in the books in the Denver Revised Municipal Code. It's under Chapter 28, Article 8, Section 28-250. I have it right here. If you want me to read, would you like me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
It says, quote, no department, agency, board, commission, officer, or employee of the city, including without limitation county court administrative and clerical employees, probation, pretrial services, and community corrections, shall use any city funds or resources to assist the enforcement of federal immigration laws. The prohibitions set forth shall also include, but not be limited to, 1. Assisting or cooperating in one's official capacity with any investigation, detention, or arrest procedures related to alleged violations of the civil provisions of federal immigration laws. Wow. So it's that. And also, Mayor Hancock passed a executive order, number 143, that actually created a funding mechanism for funds from the city and county of Denver to help fund a legal clinic for immigrants going through the asylum process. So taxpayer money are helping support that legal clinic process. So I don't know when you talk about aiding and abetting. I mean, aiding and abetting people going through the asylum process, I get it. But what more, I guess, hindrance can you be giving legally from this perspective? I mean, Denver's done everything it can. Now, back in 2017, the reason we were told this thing was passed was to help victims of crime. I get it. I was a prosecutor for 34 years. That's what I did. And I prosecuted dozens and hundreds of domestic violence cases. And victims, we were told, were afraid to come forward and cooperate because if their immigration status is questionable, they were afraid of having ICE come and have them deported. And of course, we want our victims to be available for trial and help in the prosecution case. So that's the reason why we were told this ordinance was passed back then. But you can see how it's gone crazy.
Yeah. Well, now, the mayor responded to this line of questioning, particularly from Lauren Boebert, and I think your letter probably helped inform Representative Boebert on this, by going, look, we coordinate on once there's a warrant, a criminal warrant, we're there to help out.
Well, that's not. Well, I mean, again, I think she's right talking about what about before a warrant exists, and what about anything else? I mean, again, I got caught up in my situation. I was suspended for 3 days because I merely had a conversation with an investigator from Homeland Security. Would you like me to tell that story?
Yeah,
I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Well, one of the impacts, we can get into this more, when the mayor talks about how, this influx of immigrants aren't creating more crime, our crime rate's down, that's a misnomer, and it's distracting. What he's not telling you and telling everybody is the fact that all those millions of dollars that they're putting for immigration services for immigrants has to come from somewhere, and they come from agency budgets. So in my office, where I worked at in the prosecution section, we had many vacancies of prosecutors, victim advocates, and paralegals through natural attrition. We could not fill those. We had vacancies for months and months that could not be filled, and that affected our ability to prosecute criminals in court, all types of crimes. And so while I'm not saying immigrants commit crime, but I'm just saying that the services that they're taking up, it hampers and it impacts our capacity to prosecute and effectively provide public safety. And so public safety has been hindered because of the money they're spending on immigrants. It's without doubt. They're just lying about it and distracting you with statistics. You know, the line of statistics, there's statistics, damn statistics, and throughout lies, right? So I felt compelled, to come forward with this. But what happened is last summer, I was covering 3 different jobs. And one of the jobs I was covering in our juvenile courts. That's something I normally didn't do, but I had to go cover because we didn't have somebody to work that job. And I received a phone, and there was a case involving a juvenile. I won't mention his name, but he was an immigrant, lawful immigrant from Africa, and he'd already been kicked out of a county from France because of his behavior problems. And his family reached out to some long-distance relatives here in Denver, and they agreed to host him. And so he got his visa, a student visa, and unfortunately, his hosts became his victims. Not victims of violence, but victims of property crimes. He didn't get his way. He would destroy their house. Well, the host family was desperate. They couldn't get him to behave. He had a sense of entitlement. They couldn't get his behavior corrected. They didn't know what else to do. So his mom told me that she was going to call Homeland Security. And I got a call from Homeland Security and asking about our case in court against him. Now, I knew enough about immigration law to understand that I had nothing in our case involving property crime that would allow him to be deported. That requires acts of physical violence. And it was basically telling this Homeland Security investigator, there's nothing here. There's nothing here for you to take action against this kid. Well, my boss found out about it, and I got suspended for 3 days for merely having the conversation.
And they called you?
Yeah, they called me.
And so what is the expectation come from the city of Denver? You hang up the phone?
Yeah, just I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. We had the training back in 2017, this ordinance, and this just didn't connect. At the time, it didn't connect to me because I was thinking about that ordinance dealing with, victims of domestic violence, adults, people here illegally. The idea of this connecting to a juvenile with a legal visa from Africa, and this situation where I wasn't issuing a phone call. I was receiving a phone call. It just didn't connect to the ordinance. So I had to admit, I said, yeah, I violated, these provisions. You're right. You got me. I admit it. But, I think the fact is that if the spirit of the law is designed to, anyway, so that's what happened. But it's crazy to think that other employees, in the city and county of Denver, say, we collaborate with federal officials. You can't under this ordinance. You can't. You'd be subject to not only being fired, but being criminally prosecuted. I was kind of glad they didn't, but it would have been an interesting, political PR stunt if they would have had to prosecute me for that violation. But no sheriff, no police officer, no city employee can talk to any official of ICE or Homeland Security on these situations. They can't talk, let alone collaborate. So the mayor's be disingenuous from that ordinance.
We're talking with Kory Nelson. He's a former senior assistant attorney for the city and county of Denver. Now, what I find fascinating about all this, okay, so the groundwork was laid by Republicans at the hearing that took place on Wednesday, that they're going to refer these mayors to the Attorney General's office for prosecution, okay, for harboring illegal immigrants, that type of thing. I would like to point out that the city is utilizing its own ordinances to essentially prosecute anybody that's an employee that coordinates or talks with immigration officials.
Right.
So if you were caught off guard and go, well, I think it's offensive that the attorney general would prosecute these mayors, I want to point out that these mayors are already prosecuting their own employees if they even take a phone call from a member of the immigration services.
That's right. Now, I don't know if there's a criminal case there, but I would like to talk briefly about who would do that prosecution, right?
Yeah.
And that would be a federal prosecutor.
Right.
It'd be in the federal courts of Colorado, and that would require a U.S. attorney for the District of Colorado to have, I'll just say it, the balls to do that, right? Well, who's that? We need to have a U.S. attorney who has some gumption, at least doing the investigation. At least, put this in front of a grand jury. I'd love to see this in front of a grand jury. I'll volunteer to testify. Come on in, give you all the information. I'm not saying they should be prosecuted or they should go to jail for this, but if you want to do an investigation, please do it. But we need a new U.S. attorney because Biden's appointee, you know who that was? Who Biden's appointee, who our U.S. attorney was? Because I'm certain your next guest will know who it is. Was the guy named Cole Finnegan. You know who Cole Finnegan was? He's a political hack. You heard me right. Quote me. Cole Finnegan's a political hack. Please quote me on that everywhere. He was Hickenlooper's city attorney.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Had no prosecutorial experience.
Yeah.
He came into the job and almost destroyed my prosecution section by putting somebody in charge who was a political brown noser, I'll just say it.
Yeah.
Had no experience whatsoever. Almost destroyed our office. Right?
Wow.
So he's got no prosecutorial, Cole Finnegan had no prosecutorial experience, but all of a sudden he's the chief prosecutor of federal prosecutions in the state of Colorado. How the heck does that happen? I feel sorry for all those DEA agents, all those FBI agents in Colorado, because, oh my God, you got a guy in charge of federal prosecution, know which way is up. It's just crazy.
Do you have a recommendation for Trump?
Well, George Brockler's tied up. I'm sorry. So
that's an interesting.
I know George wouldn't want to do it, but
really?
Maybe somebody like George, who that would be, I don't know. But I just certainly hope that Representative Beaupert and our Republicans, to get something moving on this quickly and get somebody in charge here in the District of Colorado at the federal level to maybe put this in front of a grand jury. Let's get the truth out there. What's really happening?
We're talking with Kory Nelson, former senior assistant attorney of the city and county of Denver. We're going to continue our conversation. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The CIA is laying off some recently hired officers as President Donald Trump's efforts to downsize and reshape the federal government take hold. The CIA said that it is reviewing personnel hired within the past 2 years and that officers whose behavior or suitability make them a poor fit for the agency will be let go. The agency won't say how many staffers are expected to be fired in total, but the cuts are part of a sweeping job reduction at agencies across the federal government. While intelligence agencies have been spared the deepest cuts, they haven't been immune. Some agencies, like the USAID, have been largely dismantled. In February, the CIA offered buyouts to some employees. Trump's recently confirmed CIA Director John Ratcliffe has promised to overhaul the agency and return its focus to human-gathered intelligence.
We want them to keep the good people, and so we're going to be watching them, and Elon and the group are going to be watching them, and if they can cut, it's better, and if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
President Donald Trump says he is suspending the security clearances of attorneys at a law firm involved in launching since-discredited opposition research during the 2016 presidential campaign, accusing Trump of colluding with Russia. The sanction against Perkins Coie, who worked on behalf of Hillary Clinton, is the latest in a series of moves by Trump and his administration, weeding out corruption and weaponization in D.C., including Justice Department prosecutors, career intelligence officials, and most recently, private practice attorneys. Taken together, the actions appear to send a message that the weaponization of government will not be tolerated and also deter government officials from engaging in unethical, possibly illegal activities, then pulling in private sector workers to help them. The man whose legal saga amassed a worldwide following of serial podcast listeners will remain free even though his murder conviction still stands. A Baltimore judge ruled for Adnan Syed's sentence to be set to time served under a relatively new state law that provides a pathway to release for people convicted of crimes committed when they were minors. Both prosecutors and defense attorneys agree that Syed does not pose a risk to public safety. He maintains his innocence. Syed was released after more than 23 years in prison 3 years ago when his conviction was temporarily vacated. Elon Musk is telling Republican lawmakers that he's not to blame for the firings of thousands of federal workers as he follows President Donald Trump's directive to help with downsizing the government. He's saying in private meetings this week that those decisions are left to federal agencies. Musk is one of President Donald Trump's top advisors when it comes to eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. His message came as Republicans publicly support his work at the Department of Government Efficiency. Trump weighed in after a cabinet meeting, saying he's instructed the department secretaries to work with DOJ, but to be very precise about which workers will stay or go. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Man, we've got a fire show on Friday.
Song here. There's in the previous ad. Yeah.
Oh,
Harvey
no.
Danger flagpole sitta. We
Yeah.
just did an ad for flagpoles and.
Oh, did we?
flags.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Just like I didn't plan that. I'm just saying.
The conversation is hot in
Yes,
the
it is.
studio
It
right
is.
now. We've got Kory Nelson, former senior assistant attorney of the city and county in Denver, and then coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Sheriff Darren Weekly of Douglas County is going to join us. So much to talk about. But what Kory's done, 34 years, city and county of Denver, he's going, these ordinances, these laws written to be a sanctuary city are real. They're impactful. They impacted his career. It's impacting funding. This is agenda-driven. Mayor Mike Johnston was not being honest on Wednesday when he was testifying, going, oh, we're not a sanctuary city. We're just a welcoming city. And by the way, we coordinate with federal law enforcement once there's a warrant. It's all designed. It was put together by this law firm to try to avoid prosecution, I think. But I think it's going to come anyways. But
Yeah,
Bill,
that was $2 million well spent. Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'd love to get paid even close to that. So
$1,000 an hour?
Yeah. That was the thing
That
that we talked about.
Yes.
We talked about that on the
I just
show.
kind of find it interesting that the city attorney's office couldn't somehow provide him the legal counsel.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm sorry.
You couldn't find anybody. You couldn't find anybody for the $2 million. And the other part that really annoyed me, not only just the insult to the great legal minds that exist inside of Colorado, also the fact that you're spending the money in D.C., which means those attorneys are spending our tax dollar at the bars, at the restaurants in D.C., not here. $2 million that could have been pumped into the local economy, paying someone's rent, paying
you guys,
health care,
I will tell you
buying
exactly
food.
why this happened.
Come on.
Because after he's done with his term, there's going to be a lovely job waiting for him at Covington.
Yeah, that's probably true.
He's buttering up his future bosses.
Yeah. Also, on the testimony, just on a side note, we put the Jim Jordan thing yesterday, where Jim really went after him about one altercation that happened when they were releasing one person into a parking lot, and I found it personally appalling that he couldn't just say that was wrong and we need to alter our procedures, but he couldn't because
1,200 people we've done.
Yeah, don't care.
Dude,
One person
it's
being
almost
big changed the
comical if it
policy.
wasn't absurd.
Yes.
Watching these ICE agents run around a parking lot trying to tackle a guy.
Yeah, which again, you can look at that. Any reasonable person can view the video and go, that was stupid.
Right.
Let's not do stupid again. Can we just change the procedure? It just...
So,
but yeah, here
Bill,
we
we got a text message or a call
Yeah, we did.
question.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're getting a text message in here, 0459. There's Kory. They're saying you are great, man.
Yeah,
they
Kory's
love
a
listening
rock
to you.
star. This is the call that we had off air. They wanted to know about the RICO Act, and the conversation was, could there be a way to utilize the RICO Act to go after Mayor Mike Johnston or anybody else that is claiming sanctuary city status based on the policies and procedures they have implemented and allowed to exist? Would that be a possibility, and if so, how?
Well, the answer to that question is it depends. My favorite legal answer for everything.
I love that answer.
Right? It's a novel approach. I think it's certainly worthy of investigation. I think the first step is to get the facts down, and that's why I think the first step that ought to be happening is if we get the right U.S. attorney and bring in this in front of a federal grand jury, then you might get the facts and be able to have somebody, take a look at that possibility. It's novel. Again, we would talk about the weaponization of the laws against political folks, and I'd hate to, all of a sudden be accused of doing that. I am not seeking, any government official to go to jail. I was threatened with jail. I don't like it, for doing my job. So I just think that the truth ought to come out and people understand that there is a cost to their policies and laws. And so until the city council revokes this ordinance, until the mayor revokes Executive Order 143 and starts kind of like in New York saying, hey, we see this, the way the country wants us to act, and the damage they've done, because Denver, it's a horrible place. I don't like visiting there. So I mean, between that and also the judges who give everybody a personal recognizance bond, and that's the worst thing. That's the number one cause of problems in Denver, is that fact that they give everybody a revolving door, and you can fail to appear in court dozens and dozens of times. You're not going to be held. And so those are the problems that Denver faces. And that's why the quality of life issues, not homicide rates, not auto theft rate, but the quality of life crimes. That's why people don't want to go to 16th Street Mall. I don't want to go to downtown Denver. I'm even concerned about going to the Denver Center for Performing Arts. They actually had a homicide in the garage once, so it's not safe to be down. I'm telling you right now, it is not safe, in my opinion, to be in downtown Denver.
And that's a great point about the idea of quality of life crimes, because that doesn't necessarily mean car thefts and or assaults and or murders, which Johnston was pointing to, the idea of murders, but those aren't, as you properly outlined, those aren't quality of life crimes. Those aren't the things that are going to discourage someone from going downtown. Now, I want to ask on the RICO thing just for a sec. I'm going to go in a direction in a moment, and what I want to ask you, and we'll get to that in a moment, is about the RICO. Could opening up a federal grand jury allow you access to information you couldn't get otherwise? But when you talk about the revolving door and the personal recognizance bonds, I can show everyone in our audience today a real world example that we all have experienced to show that the idea of a personal recognizance bond doesn't work. Go back to high school. Go back to those kids in your class that never showed up, that were given tardies, that you were told after so many tardies and showing up late to class or skipping class for so many days, you were going to get a suspension or you're going to be expelled. How often did that actually follow through? How often was that enforced? And once the kids figured out that I can get so many tardies over the course of a semester, they used up every one of them and then some, because they were not held to account. So why would we expect, when we're handing out tardy slips, the equivalent of them legally, to these criminals, why do we expect them to show up? Why do we expect them to do anything at all? So back to the RICO question. Could a federal grand jury open up any avenues of exploration we wouldn't be allowed to otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. They could issue subpoenas to bring in the folks who actually have knowledge, other city employees who are afraid to speak out because they're afraid of retaliation, which can happen. And I think they get the documents together, present this to a grand jury. I'm not sure what the result would be, but I think that act alone of bringing, because you don't have to start a grand jury. One's already existing. You just bring in a new investigation in front of them. So it's not a lot of new effort to do that, but just bring in the investigators and bring the information before the grand jury and let the truth come out.
That's Kory Nelson, former senior assistant city attorney for the city and county of Denver. We'll continue our conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studios, Kory Nelson. He's former senior assistant attorney for the city and county of Denver. All right, so you've done 34 years. You're exposing a lot of the problems down there, which is great. What's next for you?
Well, I'm hoping to do some volunteer work for my town of Parker. I'm trying to bring my experience as a prosecutor in Denver to help address issues of like retail theft and street racing and eluding of police officers. We had a Parker, for example, in February. George Brockler's office convicted Mr. Conyers for aggravated motor. Well, I'm sure actually what the convictions were for, but he killed an individual. He was fleeing Walmart after doing a retail theft case.
The Walmart our family uses.
Parker police got into a chase with him. He involved in a collision in the intersection of Parker and Lincoln. A gentleman by the name of, I think it's Jose Pinto, was 53 years old, was killed. The driver, Mr. Conyers, got away, but investigators tracked him down. So these things, these police chases are dangerous. You know, Douglas County, they're the only few people that do chases anymore. But what I'd like to do is bring a program to Parker like we do in Denver, and we take civil actions against the vehicles involved in chases. So even if you can't prove who the driver was, let's take that tool that was used for that dangerous facility and let's impound it for a few months. Take that toy away, you know.
And how's Parker responding to that?
Well, I just started. I just sent the information over to the chief of police yesterday. I'm going to meet with some town council people. So I'm hoping to do some volunteer work and bring them a good tool I think that the Parker Police Department could use to deal with these. We also got street racing as a problem. I mean, every weekend I'm hearing people on Hilltop Road by my house racing. It's dangerous. We can get people killed out there. So we need to address and take away. You know, I was a student in elementary school. If I brought a water gun in, the teacher would take the water gun away from me and stick it in their desk for a while, right?
Right.
I think if you get a 19-year-old, a big, powerful vehicle, and he's racing, and I had some from Elbert County racing in Denver and doing 120 up I-25 in Colorado.
Jeez.
I think even though the owner wasn't the person involved, the owner, I think, has a duty to prevent this stuff from happening.
Yeah, right.
And not giving these keys to powerful vehicles to 19-year-olds without consequences. So let's just keep the vehicle in the impound facility for a few months and see, see if that can calm things down.
Wow,
so that's
very
what I'd
cool.
like to do.
Well, Kory Nelson, former senior assistant city attorney for the city and county of Denver, is going to hope we can have you back, especially as it relates to Mike Johnston and possible federal investigations, all that stuff. Love to have you back.
I'd love to be here. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Billy very much. His debating skills. He's awesome.
Thank you.
You guys an awful lot. Thanks.
Appreciate you a lot.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.
You bet. And he sent a letter to Lauren Boebert, really encouraging her to look into a lot of these policies, not just policies, but ordinances and laws in the city of Denver. And you can see that it clearly informed her testimony during the House Oversight Committee and her questioning of Mayor Mike Johnston. So thanks for doing that as well. All right, coming up next, Sheriff Darren Weekly is going to join us. Wild story coming out of Douglas County. A kid had been kidnapped by his mom 7 years ago, gets caught trying to break into a vacant house in Highlands Ranch. The kidnapping coming from Atlanta, Georgia, I believe, now caught in Denver. We're going to talk to him, plus what's happening in Douglas County, how he's leading his sheriff's office. One of my absolute favorites, Sheriff Darren Weekly, will be up next. Don't miss this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president, and if you live in Douglas County, Sheriff Darren Weekly is your sheriff. That makes you a very lucky person. I don't know anyone doing it as good as he is, managing such a unique, diverse county, doing a fantastic job. I've watched his career grow and very proud to have him in the sheriff's seat right now. He's going to join us live in studio in just a second. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. Wild story coming out of Douglas County where deputies on a trespassing call uncover a high-profile kidnapping case and rescue a boy missing for 7 years. We'll get the details on this.
And the reason they pulled the thread is because something didn't feel right.
Yeah.
This is a great example of personal law enforcement and following their gut and doing exactly what they've been trained to do. This is a fantastic story. It's amazing.
Not going to want to miss that. But now, time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 29 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Kory Nelson, former senior assistant City of Denver attorney on the show last hour with Jeff and Bill, and says that he had to throw the yellow flag after hearing Mayor Mike Johnston say that at the hearing 2 days ago that that Denver collaborates with federal immigration officials. The mayor telling some more fibs, this time in D.C. Here's Kory Nelson.
Not only from a personal experience, but because I know the law. Back in 2017, the city and county of Denver, the city council passed an ordinance that actually prohibits any employee from even talking to federal immigration officials. So you can't talk to them. I don't know how you can collaborate. And so I wanted to bring that information because it's not a matter of policy. It's a matter of law. It's actually in the books in the Denver Revised Municipal.
Interesting. President Trump is threatening to place sanctions on Russia. In a Truth Social post this morning, Trump said he is strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia. He said they would be put in place until a ceasefire with Ukraine is reached. Trump urged Russia and Ukraine to get to the table right now before it's too late. This comes as the U.S. has paused military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. And even though the globalist warmongers from the EU and NATO and the UN wanted to rope us into a war with Russia, it's not going to happen. The lefties were in the ear of Zelensky's days before he came to talk to DJT, and Marco Rubio says we know what's going on.
It's been very clear from the beginning that President Trump views this as a protracted, stalemated conflict, and frankly, it's a proxy war between nuclear powers, the United States helping Ukraine and Russia. And it needs to come to an end. And no one has any idea or any plan to bring it to an end. The plan of the Ukrainians up to now and their allies on Capitol Hill and the people you talk to in other countries is let's just keep giving them as much as they need for as long as it takes. That's not.
And Italy says they're not getting into any conflict either, despite the pressure from the Western European leaders who are looking more and more like dictators every day. 47 is pushing for negotiations with Iran for a nuclear arms deal. He told Fox Business this morning he sent a letter to the supreme leader of Iran saying, I hope you're going to negotiate because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. He added that Iran can't have nuclear weapons and other options are available if they don't negotiate. A weaker than expected jobs report shows 151,000 jobs were created last month. The unemployment rate rose slightly to 4.1%. Federal Reserve officials signaled this week that the monthly jobs report will likely have little impact on its current policy stance. Most of the country will jump an hour ahead this weekend, that is. Of course, clocks will be set forward an hour beginning at 2 a.m. Don't forget to do that. Shifting more 60 minutes forward, 60 minutes more of daylight. I'll get it straight. Jeez, I need to set the clocks back today. Elon Musk's SpaceX has suffered another failed rocket launch. The company launched a Starship from Texas on Thursday afternoon, which spun out of control and exploded 8 minutes into its test flight. During SpaceX's last test flight in January, the Starship rocket also exploded about 8 minutes after takeoff. A South Carolina inmate will be put to death today unless it's stopped by Governor Henry McMaster. This evening's execution of Brad Sigmund will be the first ever by a firing squad in South Carolina in modern history. All right, the Avalanche over the Sharks last night, 7-3. That's what I want. I think I'd rather be eaten by a shark. That's how I'd like to end it. Jeff was and Billy were asking me that last hour.
I think the size of the shark is super important, though.
Yes,
because if it's small enough, it's a lot of little bites, and then you're like, dude, just hurry up.
Forget that.
Large shark, it might be good there.
Yeah, just stay inside the mouth for a while.
Here's a dumb thing. You and I both thought about that enough to have that conversation.
Exactly. Let me go back to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Both of us. Both of us, my friend.
26 in Castle Rock, 27 in North Glen, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Not a problem at my house. My chickens are in a very nice, secluded backyard area. They're not interacting with any other infected.
Scott Jennings and Jeff doing the same thing. I love it. Blake Olson in News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Monday, mostly dry, increasingly cloudy, a little cooler Tuesday and Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. It'll be a chilly Friday along the Front Range. We may have some areas of morning fog, and there may be some snow showers and flurries around during the day today. It'll be chilly, highs only reaching the mid-30s. Tonight, any flurries ending, lows lower 20s. The weekend will be fair, 40s and low 50s and sunny Saturday, sunny Sunday and Monday. We could break 60 Sunday and Monday, and through Monday, mostly dry, increasingly cloudy, a little cooler Tuesday and Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. It'll be a chilly.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I've been so impressed with his leadership in Douglas County. Now he's live in studio. Sheriff Darren Weekly. Thank you, brother, for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Wild story coming out of Douglas County. I saw the headlines, and I contacted the PIO, Deb. Great person. Very helpful in helping put this together this morning. So Douglas County Sheriff's deputies on a trespassing call uncover a high-profile kidnapping case, rescuing a boy missing for 7 years. Give us the details on this.
Well, I'm just really proud of my staff. On February 23rd, about 3:30 in the afternoon, our dispatch center received a call of a possible trespassing or burglary in progress in Highlands Ranch. So we dispatched 2 deputies, figure out exactly what was going on, what we had. When they arrived on scene, they found a vehicle parked in the driveway with 2 kids inside the vehicle. Not knowing what they had, they contacted the kids, like, "Hey, what's going on?" and talked to the kids a little bit. And then the boy, who we later identified to be Aziz, who is the missing child, had a cell phone, called Mom, who is inside the home, and then Mom and her husband came outside. And then our deputies made contact with them. And during the course of the deputies investigating, "Why are you in the house? What are you doing?" Their story unraveled fairly quickly. The male, his name was Bourgeois. He provided deputies with an identification card of a deceased person. The mother, the second suspect, her name was Rabia Khalid. She said she's never had an identification card before, and that's obviously a huge red flag for us. I mean, and so through the questioning process, they were able to identify these folks. With Khalid, our deputies are equipped with a portable scanner that can scan a fingerprint out in the field, because shockingly, people lie to us a lot about who they are. And so the deputies, when they figured out, obviously, that they were being misled, they did a morph scanner on her fingerprint, and we able to identify her, cleared her through our computers, and then that's when we uncovered the kidnapping warrant.
So it was just the scan of her fingerprint realizes, okay, now we're attached to, we know who this person is. You run a warrant search, and lo and behold, she had kidnapped her son 7 years ago?
Yeah, that's correct. I actually talked to Dad. I met with Dad earlier this week in my office. Dad actually had not seen this child for 9 years. So it took 2 years for the criminal justice system, because the law enforcement agencies in Louisiana and in Atlanta were kind of pointing the finger, no, it's yours, no, it's yours. And so finally, I think it was Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, finally put the warrant out for her arrest. When there was a federal warrant, the U.S. Marshal Service got into it. They began looking for her. The FBI was involved at some point. But to be honest with you, this case was not even on our radar at all. So again, my deputies do what they do best. And they went there and they uncovered exactly what was going on. We have built a culture in my organization of going above and beyond the call of duty on everything you do, whether it's patrol investigations, the jail staff, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, over the last 7 years, these folks probably came in contact with law enforcement at some point, whether it be a traffic stop or something like that. And the cop probably just, took them at their word or whatever and moved on to the next thing. Our folks didn't. They're like, something's not right here. And so they just followed their gut instincts. They were out there on scene for 5 hours to figure out what was going on. And so I commend them for that. The kids, we tried to make the kids as comfortable as possible. We called out our victim advocates, our deputies. One of our deputies, one of the neighbors opened up their home to us. And so we got the kids food. We had a deputy watching Peppa Pig and Blue's Clues with these kids just to make them feel comfortable at home. And it's got to be scary being a kid in that situation to have all these cops around you. And so we tried to make them as comfortable as possible.
We're talking with Sheriff Darren Weekly of Douglas County. Bill, to your point, it was that kind of like gut instinct. I want to go above and beyond. So it was both the gut, but also Sheriff Weekly challenging his sheriff deputies to always go above and beyond.
Yeah. To follow your gut instinct, and if it feels wrong, explore it. I mean, that's the one thing that I really appreciate that Sheriff Weekly has done, is to allow the law enforcement underneath him the ability to follow their gut and their brain. They've been doing this. They've had more interactions with people, and you've had personal interaction, Jeff, dealing with former Denver police officer Mark Crowley, and the idea that he's wired a little bit differently in public, and you can see it when his spider sense goes off because of all the experience he's had, and that's all Sheriff Weekly is allowing his law enforcement officials to do, is to trust your instinct. If something seems wrong, it's better to find out if it's wrong than to say, well, I don't know, so let it going, and then have something worse happen later on down the road. This is a fantastic example of law enforcement work. This is great.
So I want to ask you, Sheriff, do you have a sense of where they were the last 7 years? Has investigation looked into that?
Yeah, the U.S. Marshal Service believes they were tracking him in like 11 different states, that they had some kind of clue or information for them to be in there. We have executed a search warrant in the city of Aurora where these two were living. Our detectives are still looking into what they were doing in that house. The motor vehicle they were in, we also have a search warrant for that. So we've uncovered a lot of documents, fraudulent documents and things like that, that these folks had on them. But our detectives are still putting the pieces together. George Brockler in the 23rd Judicial District, our new judicial district that just started in January, George Brockler is going to prosecute these cases before we release these folks to another jurisdiction. So we want to ensure that justice is served.
I'm going to ask you about George Brockler in just a second, what you guys are building, because you've had some fantastic press conferences. I love it. So this woman has a son with a guy, and then disappears, and that was the kidnapping charge? Or what was the relationship between the mother and father? Are you guys aware of that?
Yeah, they were married. There was
Okay.
actually a Netflix Unsolved Mystery special specifically on this case.
Really?
They were married. The marriage was kind of falling apart. Custody dispute ensued. And when Dad was going to be granted primary custody, that is when the mother absconded with the child.
And do we know why he got the primary custody? Was it something in her past or background?
I don't know the answers to that. I
Yeah.
know that the mother had made allegations against the father of abuse. To my knowledge, those allegations were never substantiated, but that was the delay in the process of the custody until that was vetted out by the courts when it was determined that the father was not a danger and the father was actually going to be granted primary custody. Again, that's why she absconded.
So they're married, marriage falls apart, primary custody goes to him, she bails, disappears for 7 years to 11 different states, moves around. Who's the guy she ends up being arrested with? How did he come into the picture?
According to the Netflix thing, it was an old friend, a boyfriend from high school or something like that, that she ended up leaving with, and yeah. So, but they were able to fly under the radar for the last 7 years.
And what are they being charged with now from your office?
There's a litany of charges. I don't have them all. It's kidnapping. It's providing false information to authorities. Fraud in terms of the financial documents that they had. He provided false identification. So there's a litany of charges. Nobody's better than George Brockler putting charges together. And so we'll see where it goes. They're due in court on March 27th.
And the kids. Does the boy go back to the father? And then there was another kid that I'm assuming that's with a separate person.
Yeah,
the
Department of Human Services is working on that. The reunification process is long. This is the only life that Aziz has known, right?
Wow.
And so it's not as simple as just reuniting them and putting them back together. It's baby steps. And Dad is in Colorado. As I mentioned, I was fortunate enough to talk to him in my office a couple of days ago. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. We were both crying by the end of it.
Wow.
Because he was at the point where he didn't know if he'd ever see his son again. 9 years has passed total, 7 years since the warrant had been out, and he had virtually given up that he would ever see his son again. And so the fact that two Douglas County deputies were able to unravel this case and bring his son back. It's just amazing.
Who made the phone call to him? Did that come from your office?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who made that phone call to him. Most likely it was authorities in Louisiana that made that call, because when we have a warrant like that, we have to confirm it. And so we have to contact that agency to make sure that warrant is still valid, because we don't want to be hooking somebody up and taking them to jail for a warrant that's no longer valid.
Right.
And so that's my guess is law enforcement from his jurisdiction probably made that call.
I can't imagine that. I mean, to get that call after 9 years, to think you're never going to see your son again, and then you get that call. Now, you said you guys were together in the room, both tears.
Yeah.
Tell me about what he's going through from your perspective. What did you see?
Just very emotional. He's just grateful, doesn't begin to describe how thankful he is for the work that my deputies did, and our dispatchers too. Any street cop will tell you dispatchers are worth their weight in gold because they do a lot of the work behind the scenes, but the deputies and dispatchers were able to put that together. But Dad is just ecstatic, and he understands the reunification side of things in terms of it's going to take a little bit of time to get that done with DHS and just slow steps, because who knows what Aziz has been told about his father over the last 7 years, and that's some of the process where this is going to take some time to put them back together.
I mean, incredible story coming out of Douglas County as sheriff deputies on a trespassing call uncover high-profile kidnapping case, rescue a boy that's been missing for at least 7 years, not connected with his dad for 9 years, all because of the great work of our Douglas County sheriffs. Joining us live in studio is Douglas County Sheriff Darren Weekly. So, Darren, other story out there is the main event shooting. I know this is an active investigation, not a lot that can be commented on it, but we saw the video. Bill and I both looked at the video. Bill and I on different sides of the political spectrum, both looked at it, said, that looks justified from our case. Talk a little bit about process. You're in the currently being investigated, and then you have the actual shooting that took place as well. As much as you can, what can you tell us about this case?
Well, here's how this process works: is the actual criminal offenses that took place inside the main event. Those are investigated by my organization for filing of charges against all of the suspects involved. The officer-involved shooting part of it is investigated by the 23rd Judicial District Critical Incident Response Team, and that is made up of detectives from other law enforcement agencies in the 23rd. So we're not investigating ourselves in terms of the officer-involved shooting. It will probably take 6 to 8 weeks, if not more, for those detectives to finish their investigations, all of the interviews that need to take place, gathering evidence, and then they prepare a presentation for our district attorney, who's George Brockler, and his chief deputy district attorneys. They will present the information to the DA, and the district attorney will determine whether or not charges are warranted against my deputy sheriff.
Gotcha. And we'll continue to track that. I know there's dispute over the officer-involved shooting. We have invited the attorney for the family, Seaborn, I think is the last name, to come on the show as well. We'll follow up with them. But, like I said, Bill and I both reviewed it.
Yeah.
I think your analysis of what happened, and I encourage people to go to x.com/DC Sheriff, because you can see the actual body cam footage, dash cam footage, and Sheriff Darren Weekly's analysis of what happened. I think that was spot on. I think it was justified in my perspective.
And I know, and I'm not looking for Sheriff Weekly to comment on this because of the investigation going forward, but personally, I understand the lawyer is raising an issue about whether or not the officer announced himself before taking action against the possible shooter. And personally, I feel showing up a few car lengths away from the individual with flashing red and blue lights is somewhat of an announcement.
Yes,
that seems
right.
In the dark, in a parking lot where there are no other flashing lights. The reflection is seen off the car. To me, my own layman, where I'm sitting, that seems like an announcement that most people in that parking lot would be able to tell who was there and what was going on. But again, I'm not looking for a comment from the sheriff. That is only my opinion based on what I saw in that footage. I think what the lawyer is grabbing at his straws, and I don't think he's got anything there, but I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah,
nor should I be.
We know how some of these cases play out, too.
Yes.
All right, so Sheriff Darren Weekly, let's talk Douglas County. Let's talk your sheriff's office, and then we'll get to George Brockler and some of the press conferences you guys have done in the past. Give us an update. How are things going in Douglas County?
It's going great. We are not having a hiring problem in my organization. I'm hiring cops from Denver, Aurora, around the Denver metro area. Police officers want to come to work for me and my organization.
Tell me why.
Because they love crime fighting. Some of these agencies, they feel that their hands are tied. I've got friends in the Denver Police Department, and let's just say that.
Well, I mean, Wyoming is putting billboards in Denver going, come on up to Wyoming where you can actually be a cop.
Yeah, and the first part of our conversation here is that Sheriff Weekly has empowered his officers to follow their instincts and their gut. That is something that I'm certain every person that puts their life on the line when they put that uniform and badge on, regardless of jurisdiction, wants from their supporters higher up the chain. They want to have the trust and the ability to trust their instincts and their training to find crime and to fight crime. And that's not always extant elsewhere in the state of Colorado and elsewhere in the country.
Well, and it's politics, right? You get all of this agenda driven into policing. So,
just like telling Kory, don't pick up the phone when the feds call you. That's a suspension. Hang on, I didn't make the phone call.
Right,
that's a suspension. Good job.
And it's also what our teachers have to deal with, too. So you put so much... Because of the breakdown of the church in our communities, and people don't have a good moral upbringing with a mom and a dad. Look, I'm a coach in so many youth sports too. There's a reason why sometimes the kids are really disobedient because of the home settings, because of the broken families. They're not, the church isn't as involved in their lives, and then we dump it all on law enforcement, and we're like, well, you guys clean it up. But there's a difference going on here, and it stems also to the county commissioners, right? So county commissioners are saying, we're not going to allow homelessness. Sorry, you're not panhandling. You can't just pop up a tent in a city park in Douglas County. We're going to be different in Douglas County. Denver, on the other hand, is, well, throw your tent up wherever you want. If you're a law enforcement officer, we're going to really handcuff you and what you want to do. And there's crime in the city of Denver, all these problems. So there's a different worldviews playing themselves out in these different counties. Tell me how you think it's faring in Douglas County.
This isn't a political statement. It's a public statement, public safety statement. People value public safety, whether you're a Republican, whether you are a Democrat. They want to live in a safe neighborhood. They want their kids to be able to go to safe schools. Douglas County Sheriff's Office, Douglas County School District has the largest SRO program in the state of Colorado. When you cross County Line Road, you know you've arrived into Douglas County because you don't see the panhandling. You do see the lower crime rates because we are not going to tolerate it. I work extremely well with our chiefs of police in Parker, Lone Tree, and Castle Rock. We work together on a daily basis. We have task forces, a particular impact team that work together every single day to keep our community safe. These are the high-speed, low-drag guys that are working undercover. So we send them on whatever problem that we're having. My point is we are, and I mean this in a good way, we are aggressive crime fighters. We go above and beyond, as you heard me mention before. We are willing to put in the extra time, whether it be a criminal investigation or something out there on the street. We are one of the few agencies that will still chase people, and we do it within policy. We're not reckless. I don't want to get innocent people hurt because we're chasing somebody. So certain criteria has to get met. But you're not going to come into Douglas County, commit crimes, stealing cars, burglarizing people, committing robberies, and thinking you're going to get away with it. We will chase you and catch you. And once we catch you, we are going to take you to jail. And George Brockler is going to prosecute you, and you are going to go away. So it's not a revolving door. The 23rd Judicial District was long overdue. John Kellner in the 18th, John was great. But the fact is the 18th Judicial District was getting too big. Douglas County kind of felt like the stepbrother. And so all the great prosecutors would get moved up, during the 18th era, and we'd lose all the good prosecutors. So we were like a training ground. That's gone with our own judicial district. Now Douglas County is the big dog on the block.
Is that message that you just said to criminals, is that getting out there? Do you think the cartels are learning this? I mean, and George Brockler, when he stepped into his role, had a map, right? Drive around Judicial District 23 because we're going to prosecute you. Is that message getting out there?
It is. My deputies have arrested multiple people. And these criminals that they're arresting, they have literally told our deputies, and this is on body cam, I knew I shouldn't have come to Douglas County. Because if you go to a big box store and you try to steal something, you're going to go to jail. You're not going to get a ticket. That is the difference. If you do something like that in the Denver or Aurora or a lot of other jurisdictions, here's your ticket, there's your court date. Not in Douglas County. You're going to go to jail and you're going to have to post a bond.
Now, in the midst of this differences, you have state leadership that is buying into the kind of Denver worldview, right? Of revolving door, sanctuary state status, sanctuary city status. How are you being treated by the political leaders at the state level, the Phil Weisers, the Jared Polises, trying to be this tough on crime?
Every time I go down to the Capitol and testify on a bill, I feel like I need to take a shower. I think a lot of our legislators, not all, I get along with legislators on both sides of the aisle. I really do. But there are some down there that just, when I go down there in uniform, they look at me with contempt and won't even acknowledge I'm standing right next to them. Over the last about 15 years in Colorado, long before I was the sheriff, every single year for a police officer, a peace officer in the state of Colorado to keep their post certificate, their license to be a law enforcement officer, we have to have legal updates based upon the laws that have been passed over that year. And every single year without failure, law enforcement officers sit in a classroom and they learn about what bills have passed that further ties their hands on being law enforcement officers. It's disheartening, to say the least, because these men and women put on the uniform every day to go put their lives on the line to protect people that they have never met. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. These cops go out there. They don't care what party you are. They don't care what race you are. They don't care anything. I don't care about my deputies would die to protect somebody regardless of their immigration status, regardless of whatever. To have individuals that are willing to go out there every single day, kiss their family goodbye, and go do that job, and then every year you have to go and learn about what you can't do because the legislature thinks you're the problem, it's horrible. And we need to do better as a state and treat our law enforcement officers better, because despite the fact that they have to do that every single year, it doesn't faze them. You know, it's more and more difficult to find people that want to do this job. There's a lot that it takes to do this job. You got to go through psychological exams, polygraph exams, because we don't want to have the wrong person wearing this uniform. But it's harder and harder to find those folks that are willing to put themselves at risk, not only lose their life, but potentially lose their livelihood to serve and protect people. That's what's different about Douglas County, because regardless of your party affiliation, people appreciate it. And people are moving to Douglas County because it is a safe place to raise a family, to run a business. And as long as I'm the sheriff, we're going to hold the line.
I love it, man. Clip that. As long as I'm the sheriff, we're going to hold the line. That's Sheriff Darren Weekly, Douglas County. I love what he and George Brockler and the county commissioners are doing to set Douglas County apart. I live in Elbert County. Hasn't gotten out there to us yet. They don't even run Democrats yet into our campaigns and all that stuff. So I want to point this out because you just brought it up, and I think it's really important. I've often thought about if my son or daughter wanted to become a police officer, the concerns I'd have, because what we've seen the last 5 or 6 years is that you can make the wrong decision in a split second and have your entire life ruined. And I would worry about that. I feel like what we're seeing in Douglas County is you're not dismissing wrong decisions, that type of thing. I'm sure the training is strict and all that stuff. But there was such a political motivation that came in going after law enforcement that it to your point, it's harder and harder to hire people, because I can't imagine and I watch these badge cams all the time. I can't think of another job out there, period, where you have to approach somebody that you don't know, try to figure out what's going on, face a situation where you could lose your own life, respond with force to somebody, then be judged your entire life on the type of force you did respond. Was it the right time? Did you say the right thing? Then, based upon the type of force you respond, possibly try to save that person's life. I can't imagine another job like that. That's got to be the amount of pressure put upon deputies.
It is, and whenever the legislature can't figure out what to do something, they put it on the shoulders of law enforcement. Our deputies are very well trained in everything from de-escalation to arrest control to legal updates to you name it. We provide that training for them. We're one of the highest trained law enforcement agencies in the state of Colorado, and we train them to make those types of decisions. Every time my deputies put hands on somebody, there's a use of force or anything like that, there's a review through the chain of command to ensure that they are within policy. To be honest with you, bills like Senate Bill 217, if you have a good law enforcement agency and you're hiring the right people, that stuff doesn't bother us. Cops should be, I'm the first one to tell you, cops absolutely need to be held accountable for their actions. And I hold my people accountable if they violate policy, if they violate state law, I do that. But the fact of the matter is we train them very well. But you're right. You have to be everything from an auto mechanic to a marriage counselor to a repairman. to responding to an active killer event at the main event to save lives. I had another media outlet the other day call me and like, well, how do you train your deputies, or how do they respond from something like this, like the kidnapping thing, and then the main event? How does that work? Well, a lot of people can't correlate. Cops all over the country do that every single day. 1 minute you might be on the side of the road, buying lemonade from a kid with a lemonade stand, and the next thing you're going to an active shooter event. And that's the world that these deputies live in. The job is different from call to call.
And they're the absolute best. We have Sheriff Darren Weekly live in studio. We'll continue our conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. A federal judge has ruled that President Donald Trump is not allowed to fire a member of a labor agency, and the judge ordered that she be allowed to remain on the job. National Labor Relations Board member Gwen Wilcox sued Trump after he fired her and the agency's general counsel. U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell in Washington, D.C. found that Trump did not have the authority to remove Wilcox. Government attorneys argued that NLRB members should be, quote, removable at will to ensure democratic accountability. Wilcox disagreed. The CIA is laying off some recently hired officers as President Donald Trump's efforts to downsize and reshape the federal government take hold. The CIA said that it is reviewing personnel hired within the past 2 years, and that officers whose behavior or suitability make them a poor fit for the agency will be let go. The agency won't say how many staffers are expected to be fired in total, but the cuts are part of a sweeping job reduction at agencies across the federal government. While intelligence agencies have been spared the deepest cuts, they haven't been immune. Some agencies, like the USAID, have been largely dismantled. In February, the CIA offered buyouts to some employees. Trump's recently confirmed CIA Director John Ratcliffe has promised to overhaul the agency and return its focus to human-gathered intelligence. In a rare bipartisan move, 2 senators have introduced legislation in the latest attempt to fight the flow of fentanyl and its precursors into the U.S. from China, Mexico, and through other borders. It's one reason that President Donald Trump has given for his new tariffs. Trump says those countries have failed to stem the trafficking of fentanyl into the U.S. The governments in those nations all say they have cooperated on the matter. The new bill doesn't link tariffs to the fentanyl issue, but it seeks expanded authorities to sanction Chinese entities that help finance foreign opioid trafficking. The sponsors are Republican Senator Jim Risch and Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen. The man whose legal saga amassed a worldwide following of serial podcast listeners will remain free even though his murder conviction still stands. A Baltimore judge ruled for Adnan Syed's sentence to be set to time served under a relatively new state law that provides a pathway to release for people convicted of crimes committed when they were minors. Both prosecutors and defense attorneys agree that Syed does not pose a risk to public safety. He maintains his innocence. Syed was released after more than 23 years in prison 3 years ago when his conviction was temporarily vacated. The president of a small federal agency that supports investment in African countries sued to block the Trump administration from shutting it down. Ward Brem, the president and CEO of the U.S. African Development Foundation, said in the lawsuit that DOJ and President Donald Trump do not have the authority to shut down the agency, which was created by Congress. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We have the very best live in studio, the Sheriff Darren Weekly of Douglas County. I mean, it's become this beautiful opposition to the city and state of Colorado, city of Denver, state of Colorado, with all their sanctuary laws and revolving door on crime. You have his leadership. You have George Brockler. You guys are doing fantastic work. We've got to get you out of here because you got to go keep those streets safe. What's your message to your sheriff deputies?
Your community loves you. Keep doing what you're doing. You have a tough job to do, but just know that your sheriff has your back, and we're doing great things. Douglas County is that shining city on a hill, and we set the example for the rest of the state of Colorado. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office sets the example for law enforcement, not only for Colorado, but for the nation. And it's because of the men and women on the front line doing the work.
I also wanted to ask you, there's young people out there. You were a young guy. You wanted to be a cop since you were like a young DJ, right?
Yeah,
we all saw him at the State of the Union. What a kid.
Yep, I idolized police officers. They were my heroes.
All right, so somebody's interested in becoming law enforcement, but they're watching all the political stuff, all the, watching police get raked over the coals to achieve political agendas. But what's your message to them, and where should they start?
Go to Join DCSO. It'll give you all the job openings that we have. That's the first place to start, whether you're a commissioned deputy law enforcement officer or a civilian.
And that was,
Join DCSO.
JoinDCSO.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Just go to that. And you brought up an interesting point. I want to point out the difference between a police chief and a sheriff.
Yeah. Please.
I don't answer to anybody except for the citizens that I serve, regardless of party affiliation. Again, I want to make that clear. I serve everyone. Police chiefs are appointed by either a mayor, city council, city manager. I think a lot of areas of our state would be a lot safer if they elected their law enforcement CEOs. And those law enforcement CEOs had to answer to the people. That's one of the things that makes Douglas County different. I work great with my commissioners. I got 3 fantastic commissioners that I have to justify all my requests, but they don't say no a lot as long as I can justify it because they understand the value of public safety. But the bottom line is I don't answer to them either. I do this job. I protect this community the way that I believe that I see fit, and I run that organization the way that I believe that it needs to be run. And the result is Douglas County is a safe place.
It's safe, it's great, it's thriving, and that's because of great leadership like Sheriff Darren Weekly. Sheriff, thanks so much. We know you got to get you out the door. You got a busy day today. Keep up the great work. Thank you. My kids go to school in Douglas County. I feel safe sending them to school because of what you and your deputies are doing.
Yeah, thanks
Appreciate
for the time.
you.
And congratulations for the great law enforcement work. It's an example of your leadership and the ability you gave to everybody underneath you to follow their gut, follow their instincts, and to do it right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sheriff Darren Weekly, thank you again. Follow the Sheriff's Office on X because they're always doing great work there at DC Sheriff. Great resource. And thank you. Give my best to Deb. Helped set this up. She's fantastic to work with as well.
And later on, I'm going to take you up on that offer to taste Jeff. We're going to figure that one out. Just between you and me off air here.
Well, can I at least have the same treatment that illegal immigrants get, like a head start out the door? Like they do in Denver.
Oh, we're doing this. We'll go on air and we'll do this video wise, and we'll give you a 5-count head start, and then we'll let people chase you.
Now, what's interesting is Sheriff Weekly didn't ask anything about your and my engagement with law enforcement when we were in high school.
That's probably because he's seen the arrest record. He probably knows exactly what it is. Yes.
All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Man, we've had some great folks in show today in studio. Kory Nelson, Sheriff Darren Weekly. We want to get into, we haven't talked too much about this, but I do want to cover Mike Johnston and his offer to bartend.
Yeah, the hell.
This is from Westward. We'll get into the next hour. I do want to tell you about, speaking of great people, my good friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. You want somebody that's trusted, right? Pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That is Dan Kaplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is also believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. That's how much he's trusted. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. So talking to Sheriff Weekly, I just realized like there are people in this world that like really make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
And then there are people
me.
like us.
Yeah. That's not me. Yeah. No, not at all.
like he's running his sheriff deputies. He's making the community safer.
Saving
he's
lives.
Like risking everything out there.
Making people's lives better on an individual
Bill
day.
And I debate.
And we talk. although I got to tell you that my parents were so proud that I found a way to make use of this just what comes out of my face all the time
and get a paycheck for it.
Yeah, they're like, we are so impressed you figured out a way to make that work because it was such a problem earlier on in life. There were so many things that went sideways because of that. It is. I always tell people when they ask about us and doing the show, I'm like, this is not a real job. There are people that are out there that are doing the real work, that are building bridges. There are people out there that are putting electricity into people's houses. There are farmers that are growing food. There are people teaching kids. There are bus drivers that are making sure people on public transportation get there on time, and there are law enforcement individuals making sure that you are safer and solving problems in your life. And we are not them.
So, Bill, do you think, though, that the voters of Colorado are going to look at places like Douglas County, Elbert County, and go, these places are run by Republicans. They're run by conservatives, and, they're run well.
Yeah.
City of Denver is run by a progressive, and it's a stinking pile of crap. Actually go, maybe we should put Republicans into leadership. Do you think they'll see it?
No, I don't. And this is why.
Is that?
Because I believe, and I'm not sure this is fair, but there's a two-part critique to this. First, I think that Colorado Republicans have a branding issue. What Colorado Republicans have made center stage, fair or not fair in the voters' eyes, I think has damaged the brand over the previous, I would say, 8 to 10 years, as far as what has been centralized. And we can go back to some recent campaigns as far as what has been the issue that has bubbled up and become most important. I think that there have been some missteps. I do believe that the average voter, when the rubber hits the road, would side more with conservative principles in Colorado than would side with many liberal principles, especially based on the financial side of things. But in order to get quality law enforcement like what Sheriff Weekly has, you also need to have quality taxes in the area. Douglas County is not the cheapest as far as taxes, nor do they skimp on it. And that's got to be part of it as well. On the other side, though, I do believe that the Democrats are having their own moment. Not necessarily in Colorado. We got our own problems with Colorado with safe injection sites and things, but they're having their own moment with some of the transgender and some of the immigration issues especially. This immigration, the sanctuary city issue right now is going to be a brand damager, in my opinion, for the Democrats. So it may be their turn to ride the merry-go-round for a while.
There's a lot of great political leadership coming out of the right guys like Sheriff Darren Weekly, George Brockler. I think it will send a message and hopefully turn things around. What do you think? Phone lines are open. Give us a call. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader. We're News Talk 710 KNUS. Poetry next.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We're going to get into it in this hour. This is like a great Friday topic. I'm so excited for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like this is a slow pitch right down the middle of the plate.
Yes.
We can have so much fun with this. And Bill, you're coming up with some ideas. I can't wait to get into this.
This is going to be fun.
We come up with this stuff. By the way, the T-shirts.
Yes, haven't had an
Clark.
update yet. Haven't talked to him yet. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow, as we've got an appointment tomorrow afternoon to talk.
Fantastic.
So I should have something
Kyle
Monday.
Clark T-shirts.
Yes.
All right. Because we're just unleashed here. This is, and I want to thank Kelly and Jeff for this because they just allow us to come up with these crazy ideas. All right. Westward. Denver Mayor uncorks an intoxicating plan to help Colfax businesses. Mike Johnston announced a new initiative to attract more customers. He's going to be a guest bartender.
That'll pack him in. That's what's been missing. That's absolutely what's been missing from downtown entertainment. People are like, I'd go down there more often if the mayor was bartending. Said nobody ever. But
so
this is gonna be
could
fun.
our drink be? Should we show up with bagpipes? Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I think we should do this 2 stages. There are a couple of things that we're going to do first, but I think we pick one of the event dates and we get as many listeners as we can. But when we show up, you all have to order a specific drink, and it can't be a very easy. It doesn't have to be too difficult, right? But it has to be something that everybody knows. And what we want to do is make sure that it is visually distinctive, so that when you walk into the bar and there's like half the place has the same drink, you're like, the hell is this? And so, he's going to know every time he makes that drink.
Could be
he's going to know.
Bill, as
Well, what are you thinking?
Right there, do you see where I'm pointing at?
No, I don't see where you're pointing at. What?
With this hand right here, my jacket. It says Coors on it.
Oh, Coors. Okay,
so
sorry.
it could be as simple as we all just have a yellow jacket, right?
Yeah, it could be
Coors Banquet.
Yes.
Or we could get some more creative. If you wanted Mike Johnston to make a drink for you.
Yeah.
What would it be?
I'm leaning towards the right now, and it's just the first blush thought is the espresso martini, because it's a little bit complicated and is visually interesting.
I've never had one of those. Like that doesn't appeal to me at all. Why do you like the espresso martini?
Oh, again, not a fan. I'm just thinking about.
You just want to make it work.
Yes. I don't care what it's gonna taste like. I'm not looking at something. I'm like, ooh, that's like no. Don't care. Yes. This thing could taste like wallpaper glue for all I care. I just want to make sure that he knows every time he's making that drink, it's one of our listeners, and that it's got some sort of visual distinction inside of the place, so that everybody walks in and goes, "The hell? How come everybody's drinking the weird thing?" Yeah,
Bill, this is what I feel like. I feel like I'm hanging out with my friends, and we all decided we're going to prank call 7-Elevens.
Yes,
and the rest of the afternoon was just total joy.
Oh, absolutely.
This is such a great setup.
This is.
Mike Johnston bartending. All right, I need to hear from our listeners, okay?
Yes.
I need to hear ideas. This dude is going to go down to restaurants and be a guest bartender in an effort to try to gin up business. What would you do? How do we have fun with him? What is the drink? Do we show up with bagpipes? Do we show up with tequila because we made the city an illegal immigrant haven? Maybe it's tequila and margaritas. Maybe it's mariachi bands. Yes, mariachi bands.
Mariachi bands. Mariachi bands
we
and
bring
tequila.
Mariachi bands with
mariachi
us.
bands and tequila shots.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Or maybe we just do the car bomb, where there's got to be tequila inside of the beer. There are things, there are layers here, people. We need your help. We need your help about this. What should be our drink when we go there? What do we have to order? This is going to be
303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Bill, when you go into a bar, get a drink, do you have a regular drink? What is it that you hit up?
9 times out of 10, gin and tonic. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, gin and tonic, Bombay Sapphire, if I can. If it's going to be that level, yeah, because that is the best out there. But it depends on what's going on. And I always ask, what's the well drink? But honestly, most of the times when I'm out at the restaurants, everything else, I do diet soda because they refill it for free. That's it. Yeah, soda is one of my vices, and that's one of the things that I will drink a lot of soda. Too
you
much
don't
to
drink
probably.
soda during the show, though. Which
No,
is
I don't, but I would. But I do when we go out on remote and things.
Yeah.
I oftentimes will do that and bring it. If we're not in a restaurant, I will because...
Free refills.
Well, yeah, it's free refill. It's entirely the reason that I'm doing it, because they don't refill my beer for free. They don't refill the gin and tonic for free. That always costs me extra. So I know I can do the whole thing. Many times you'll see when we go out in remotes and we're not in a restaurant, I will do soda. I'll oftentimes do soda when we are in the restaurant, but the reason I bring it with us when we're out on the road is because it has a lid, and my dumb ass spills it all the time. If we are out on the road, I am guaranteed to almost spill over my drink at least once during the broadcast, every single time.
I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'd drink an old-fashioned with Mikey Johnston. That'd be good.
That's interesting.
Good one. All right, want to hear from you, but first, Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy.
Blake, you're having a drink with Mayor Mikey.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
What is it? What are you ordering?
Oh, man, I don't drink, so I'm with Billy.
Are you a teetotaler?
I don't drink. Yeah, thank
Good
God.
for you.
I'd probably be 300 pounds if I drank. But Diet Coke, man, I'm like Billy. That's my vice.
And they refill it for free.
Yeah.
Free.
Yeah,
Free is
and
the
then
best price.
Yeah. Let everyone else get tanked, and I'll have a sober mind when I have a conversation with the bartender on the other side. Yeah, that's what I'm going to have. It's so tired, that idea. Oh my God, a celebrity bartender. Nobody cares about him.
Well, now this is brilliant. All right, 5152 just texted in what the new drink recipe would be for the mayor to serve. It's beer and milk poured together in a glass. It's called the 20% hike. And yes, it's disgusting.
Oh, that's good. I'm okay with that.
That is good.
Absolutely.
What would Mayor Mike Johnston's drink be? Beer and milk.
That's good.
That's good. It has to be warm milk, just to counteract.
Warm milk. I'm right there with you. Yeah, sorry. I don't know drinks, sex on the beach. I remember that 30 years ago or something like that. I don't even know what it is. But, good luck with all that. I'm sure that'll really help the city of Denver. 29 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story on Friday, Douglas County Sheriff Darren Weekly in studio last hour. Just incredible, amazing police work, going above and beyond on a trespassing call, uncovering a case of a boy who had been missing for 7 years. The dad, who was in Louisiana, hadn't seen the boy in 9 years, kidnapped, and in Highlands Ranch. And with Jeff and Billy in studio, Darren Weekly.
And during the course of the deputies investigating, why are you in the house? What are you doing? Their story unraveled fairly quickly. The male, his name was Bourgeois. He provided deputies with an identification card of a deceased person. The mother, the second suspect, her name was Rabia Khalid. She said she's never had an identification card before, and that's obviously a huge red flag for us. I mean, they were able to identify these folks. With Khalid, our deputies are equipped with a portable scanner that can scan a fingerprint out in the field, because when they figured out obviously that they were being misled, they did a morph scanner on her fingerprint, and we able to identify her, cleared her through our computers, and then that uncovered the kidnapping.
It was a high-profile case in other states, but not on the radar here. So great work by Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Kory Nelson, former senior assistant City of Denver attorney, also on the show this morning, says he had to throw the yellow flag after hearing Mayor Mike Johnston, the bartender, say 2 days ago at the hearing that Denver collaborates with federal immigration officials. That's not true.
Not only from a personal experience, but because I know the law. Back in 2017, the city and county of Denver, the city council passed an ordinance that actually prohibits any employee from even talking to federal immigration officials. So you can't talk to them. I don't know how you can collaborate. And so I wanted to bring that information because it's not a matter of policy. It's a matter of law. It's actually in the books in the Denver Revised Municipal.
Interesting. Beware of these sanctuary city mayors and governors who allow their states to be destroyed by illegal immigration. Hello, Gavin Newsom. Has Charlie Kirk on his podcast a few days ago.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed, he's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is
you canceled school for like 2 years. Once one day.
The point is the point.
The point is your son is much smarter than you. The Labor Department reported 151,000 jobs were created in February, which is less than expected. Tariffs on most products from Canada and Mexico are being delayed until next month. DJT signed an executive order Thursday that delays tariffs on all goods under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. Investigators in New Mexico are set to provide an update related to the deaths of actor Gene Hackman and his wife. Authorities have yet to say how the couple died after their bodies were found in the home in their home in Santa Fe last month. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office news conference is set for 2 o'clock today. Sam Bankman-Fried, who's in prison for 23 more years for fraud charges, shares a cell with Sean Combs, a.k.a. Diddy. He was on with Tucker.
Are you hanging with Diddy? I think he's in there with you.
He is. And I don't know, he's been kind.
So what's Diddy like?
Obviously I've only seen one piece of him, which is, Diddy in prison. And, he's been kind to people in the unit. He's been kind to me. It's a position no one wants to be in. Obviously he doesn't, as you said, it's kind of a soul crushing.
I don't think you want to see too much of him. Dolly Parton is paying tribute to her late husband, Carl Dean, with the new song the country music icon released If You Hadn't Been There on Friday. That's today. Dean passed away earlier this week at the age of 82. In a post on Instagram, Parton said, like all great love stories, they never end. They live in memory and in song, and I dedicate this to him. Parton and Dean were together for more than 60 years.
I was watching her talk about Jolene, the song that she wrote, and that was based on a real experience with her husband, because this bank teller where he was doing business really liked him and had a crush on him, and so she wrote that song in light of the fact that there was an actual real woman that was kind of eyeing her man.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I heard. That's a great story. She's a great storyteller.
Great marriage, 60 years. You don't see that happen.
No,
and I've noticed
that anywhere almost.
What it requires, especially when you have a woman that is that famous, is, and I've seen this among some of my other friends where the women are famous, and it works when the guy is just very comfortable playing the supportive role.
Exactly. Know your role, right?
Yeah.
Here's part of the song.
If you hadn't been you.
All right, the Avalanche over the Sharks 7-3. It has been a great week. 26 in Castle Rock, 27 in North Glen, 29 in Denver. We have had so much going on this week.
There's a man on TV at a desk in a suit. He lies through.
There's so many great things. Jeff and Billy continue.
I think Elon Musk is a rock star. The tofu crowd is mad, but when you trim fat, pigs squeal. That's just the way the world works.
Officer or agent, DJ Daniel, all of the above?
It really don't matter to me. I love women, so I don't care.
That's amazing.
Our country will be woke no longer.
Yeah, it was a great one. Have a great weekend, guys. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Friday along the Front Range, we may have some areas of morning fog, and there may be some snow showers and flurries around during the day today. It'll be chilly, highs only reaching the mid-30s. Tonight, any flurries ending, lows lower 20s. The weekend will be fair, 40s and low 50s and sunny Saturday, sunny Sunday and Monday. We could break 60 Sunday and Monday, and through Monday, mostly dry, increasingly cloudy, a little cooler Tuesday and Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. It'll be a chilly Friday along the Front Range. We may have some areas of morning fog, and there may be some snow showers and flurries.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. We're going to get to the phone calls here in just a second. Talk about your drink that you suggest we have when we go down and visit Mayor Mike Johnston at Denver as he's bartending. Because as you know, he's trying to bring business back downtown to Denver, and we know that everybody's not been going down there because the mayor hasn't been bartending. That's been the big impediment, not the crime or the homeless. Oh, well. But I want to talk to you about a group of individuals that can solve a problem in your life. They're new advertisers here, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Find them at coloradowound.com. coloradowound.com. The reason that I'm so excited to partner with them is because of something personal in my life. See, you could have a slow-healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore, and you have other things to deal with in your life, you, a family member, but that little cut can turn into a very big deal. It did in my family's life. My aunt had a wound that was on her leg, and the wound care facility was just maintaining the wound, meaning they were cleaning it, but what they weren't doing is helping it heal. She was exposed to MRSA. That MRSA started an infection inside of her body where she spent days, weeks, even over a month at times, in the hospital, in and out, bouncing back and forth, not because of the wound per se, but because of the dirt, germs, and bacteria that got into her body because of the torn skin and tissue. That's why those chronic wounds can be a very big deal. It's one of the reasons that Jennifer Walker, who started Wound Care Associates of Colorado, wants to make sure they do this right and better than anybody else in the state of Colorado. She has a similar story in her life about losing her uncle because of a small cut on his toe. Here's why Wound Care Associates of Colorado does it better than anybody else out there. Don't call anyone else. Contact them at coloradowound.com. First, because they go old school. It's concierge-style service where their wound-certified nurse comes to your house, the privacy of your own home, just like a house call, and sets up a custom treatment plan just based on your needs. That's it. Nobody else out there does that. They're different, and they come to your house. You don't have to worry about transportation. Don't worry about taking time off. You're not worried about even sitting there in the appointment room with all the other sick people. Okay, they're going to come to your house, and they're going to make sure they improve healing results. Their motto is, let's not just ignore the problem, let's fix the problem. In part, I feel that my aunt's problem was ignored. They were just maintaining the wound on her leg, and that's how she was exposed to MRSA. If they had worked on making sure her body was knitting itself back together and that skin was healing, she wouldn't have probably been exposed in the same way. She would have had a better chance, wouldn't have had to spend the time in the hospital, and wouldn't have had to have several amputations. So this is serious. This is real for me. So contact Wound Care Associates of Colorado. You're going to get the custom treatment you need in the privacy of your own home and improved healing outcomes from their wound-certified nurse practitioner, meaning she can do orders and all of that. Don't mess around if someone in your life has a slow healing wound or cut. It's not something to screw around with. Contact them at coloradowound.com today. coloradowound.com. When you reach out to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because it really does help us out as well. Thanks.
That's great to hear, Bill. All right, westward, our friends over there are reporting this one. Denver mayor uncorks an intoxicating plan to help Colfax businesses. Mike Johnston announced a new initiative to attract more businesses and customers. He's going to guest bartend.
Yeah, that was missing. That's
Denver is notoriously a big drinking city. Denver has a mayor named Mike Johnston. There was never any reason to think these two facts couldn't overlap. But if Johnston has his way, he'll soon be pouring booze down his thirsty constituents' throats as he fulfills a pledge to serve as a guest bartender at East Colfax Avenue bars and restaurants suffering through the bus rapid transit construction.
Shots.
During a wide-ranging interview, Johnston announced his bold new initiative on the CityCast Denver podcast last week. I'm going to launch a guest bartending program on Colfax for anyone who would have me, he revealed. I'm going to come in once a month and have events at bars and restaurants on East Colfax and just encourage all of our neighbors to come. It's an easy way to say, oh gosh, construction is on Colfax. Let's go to 17th or go downtown or go to Wash Park. We want to have it be the opposite. This is a time when we should all go to Colfax while it's under construction. What we're trying to do, he added, is help support all these businesses and keep them alive in the process. It is true that some businesses occasionally close, and that's a regular cycle. Well, yes, but we really don't want to see these long-term Denver businesses get lost. By the way, it's not just occasional. It's 400 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's a lot.
400
more
restaurants have closed. So we're going to do everything we can to drive traffic, expedite construction, and provide relief where we can. The funny thing is business owners are like, no one can park down here because of the stupid bus construction, and maybe just finish this construction, please, Mr. Mayor. But me being the juvenile young man that I am sometimes, and Bill, there's a part of our brain that never got past middle school. This lines itself up for like the best prank of all time, where we could show up with bagpipes. We could ask him to create a really difficult drink. We could even help these businesses. I kind of like it because we could help these businesses and make fun of Mike Johnston at the same time.
Now, we're just talking about, this is how clever I don't know who came up with these ideas or when they're having this meeting, but we could improve this idea immediately. And I'm just saying that it's odd that the idea is, well, we need to put the mayor there. That's what'll draw the crowd. You know what we could do, guys? How about, I'm just spitballing. This is just off the top of my head. Maybe you get some Broncos, Rockies, Nuggets, or Avalanche. That'd pack the bar. You just bring one of them in to be the guest bartender. The place is full, and it's going to be double the capacity of what the mayor has. But the Brain Trust decided the real draw is his honor. Again,
please
when you
make
wonder,
me the governor.
When you wonder about questionable solutions coming out of the office, this is yet another example of being so close but missing the mark.
So Gabe says, don't show up, or we could go down there, and then when he walks in, walk out the door to show how irrelevant he really is. By the way, Gabe likes bourbon.
Yeah, that's good. But he's a Raiders fan, so it's questionable, on the face of it. But just saying.
Morning Boys, an appropriate name for Mayor Johnston's drink would be the Cambodian Mess Up, 151 Armoretta Triple Sec and pineapple juice.
Oh, that's interesting.
I cannot say what they actually texted because it's full of bad words. Ask for a Miami Vice, 2 drinks layered in the same glass, and it requires the use of 2 bartenders.
Ooh.
That would make it tough on Mayor Mikey.
I like that, especially if he gets like a dozen of those, or 13, 14, 15 of those.
Mayor's drink should be the Colorado Bulldog because people will come out to chew him a new one.
Colorado Bulldogs are good. You do that right, that's a really good drink.
Better option for the mayor to raise money is to have him kick the can, maybe a Coors or Budweiser can, on Colfax to signify all the businesses he's kicking out of business with his inept business plans.
I don't remember this, but longtime Denver radio icon Steve Kelly once crawled down the entire 16th Street Mall from end to end as a stunt for the radio show. So maybe Mayor Mikey could just kick the can all the way down Colfax, beyond, crossing all of the construction to show it's not such a big deal. I kind of like the idea.
Gabe says real men drink bourbon or whiskey straight.
Yes, but not in a Raiders jersey. That's the problem. I'm just teasing you, Gabe. I love you. I'm just teasing you, man. Just teasing.
7201, white people ain't going downtown anytime soon. Breadman, bring the Salem bikini team and get them in trouble.
Yeah. The problem, here's the thing.
Is Adam part of the Salem?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Adam, are you part of the Salem bikini team?
We do have a Salem bikini team. It's all dudes. I'm just saying. And I'm not sure we want to have that much body hair shaved in it within 24 hours. There are some razor bumps. And yeah.
Are we taking you into the bar in a Speedo, Bill?
No, we want to have people not regurgitate immediately. I'm not saying I'm against appearing in a soy Speedo. I'm just saying that I understand people's delicate stomachs. And there are only so much you can take in public, and that is not something we should expose. I mean, there would be people running out of there. My eyes are burning. It would be awful. It's not. No, what's underneath these clothes is not really for sharing.
Mayor Mike Johnston, he's going to bring the businesses back with his 20% fee increase on all restaurant tabs. But lo and behold, don't worry.
Yes.
He's going to guest bartend.
Yes.
This is a slow pitch down the middle for any radio host. I want to hear ideas. What drink would you have Mayor Mike make for you? What can we do? Should we show up with bagpipes? Bill Thorpe in a Speedo?
No.
We could have so much fun.
Bad idea. Yeah.
So much fun with this. I want to hear. Let's go to Jacqueline in Nebraska. Good morning, Jacqueline. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning.
Well, my eyes are burning.
Yes, and they should be.
The thought of
It's awful.
Speedo.
Oh yeah, you need bleach right in the eyes. It's awful. Do not imagine. Even the imagination is a punishment of that. Yes.
I didn't have breakfast, thank goodness. Listen,
good.
I got to tell you something. Now you know what the prerequisite is for a Democrat politician. They just have to know how to bartend.
Yes.
Yeah, AOC too.
I tell you, an Aunt Roberta is one that's an expensive drink, and it has 7+ different items in it. It's called Aunt Roberta. And then a mojito is probably one that bartenders hate to make because it's the same thing. It's got multiple things in it. But, I never did drink a lot, but I'm a bourbon and 7 gal years ago when I drank. But I would load up a bunch of bikers, and I would take as many bikers down there as I could, and I would swamp him so bad.
Ooh. And oddly enough, we do have a friend of the show that does a weekend radio show here that is friend to a lot of bikers and is a member of his own motorcycle club. Peter Boyles.
Well,
maybe we enlist him and his friends.
Billy, I'm talking about the Sons of Silence.
Oh, no, but here's the thing is, Peter knows some of them.
I'm talking about the rough crowd. I would bring them down there, and I would swamp him so bad, get those bikers in there and give him hell. I don't think he'll show up, but, that's probably what he did before he went into politics, is he was probably working in Vail in the restaurants and bars.
I think that's exactly right.
The first thing I thought of when you said that's what he's probably doing before he was mayor, I went to the biker thing. The first thing I thought is Mikey and the gang leathers.
Jacqueline, great call. By the way, I looked up the Aunt Roberta.
Yeah, that's serious.
Known colloquially as the world's deadliest cocktail, the Aunt Roberta cocktail is a potent concoction that blends the warming notes of brandy with the clarity of vodka.
Clarity?
The kick of absinthe.
Yeah, absinthe and then just
and
gin.
botanical complexity of gin and the sweet depth of blackberry liqueur.
Yeah, the thing for me is...
Wow, Jacqueline, you're quite a...
Now, I'm not sure how many in the audience will get this reference, but I'm rolling down that list of liqueurs and understanding liquors I'm understanding when they're blended together, because I spent some time myself behind a bar, was a bartender for a while. Understand the blend that's involved there. And that reminds me of the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster. It's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference.
Oh,
yeah. Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster. It's referred to...
Is it an actual drink?
Yes. It's in the book. So it's in the book, and the way they describe it is having a Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster is like someone taking a gold brick and wrapping it in lemon and then throwing it through your skull. I know.
I want to try. Give me that one more name. One more time.
The Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster. Invented by, I'm waiting for my Douglas Adam fans, Mr. Zaphod Beeblebrox. Yes, who's the president of the universe at that time. And then steals the Infinite Impossibility Drive.
I'm all about trying stuff like that. All right, speaking of trying great things, you got to try the Art of Granite. Let me tell you why you should call Mitch Flory and the Art of Granite to put together the perfect kitchen or bathroom remodel for you. First of all, quality craftsmanship. Mitch is such an expert and craftsman that he can turn granite, quartz, marble, or other materials into a true work of art right in your own home. Number 2, superior service. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team's attention to detail is unmatched. They will listen to you and get you what you need. Number 3, great value. Mitch provides granite from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices. I've been there. It's beautiful, fantastic, great office. He's got the Declaration Constitution right on his wall, and he can get that to you with no markup so you can get the most for your budget. Here's the deal, guys. Mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop free when you purchase your fantastic new kitchen countertops. You can also get a kitchen or bathroom sink free when you purchase any countertop package. Schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West, or call Mitch at 303-386-5919. That's 303-386-5919, or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com to start dreaming about your new countertops. That's theartofgranite.com.
Oh, Jeff, I think we may have a winner or an early contender for the drink. This was suggested by listener Melissa, the sexy alligator. This is an early front runner. Sexy alligator is pineapple juice, along with Midori, amaretto, and Jägermeister. Now, the Midori and the pineapple juice have to be mixed, but then the rest of the drink is layered. So you have to start off and you have to pour them in a certain order because it comes and it's 3 stripes.
So the point being, it would be a lot of work for Mayor Mike.
Yes. And if the layers aren't right, you got to start over.
Well, we've learned that if it's tough, you can't do it. So
yeah, I know, but we believe in you, Mike. Challenges.
He's going to hire someone for $2 million to come in and do it.
Exactly.
Oh, goodness. All right, coming up next, we love to enter our weekend with a little cowboy poetry from Jeff Hildebrandt, our 710 KNUS Poet Laureate. Don't miss it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump says he is suspending the security clearances of attorneys at a law firm involved in launching since-discredited opposition research during the 2016 presidential campaign, accusing Trump of colluding with Russia. The sanction against Perkins Coie, who worked on behalf of Hillary Clinton, is the latest in a series of moves by Trump and his administration, weeding out corruption and weaponization in D.C., including Justice Department prosecutors, career intelligence officials, and most recently, private practice attorneys. Taken together, the actions appear to send a message that the weaponization of government will not be tolerated and also deter government officials from engaging in unethical, possibly illegal activities, then pulling in private sector workers to help them. Elon Musk is telling Republican lawmakers that he's not to blame for the firings of thousands of federal workers as he follows President Donald Trump's directive to help with downsizing the government. He's saying in private meetings this week that those decisions are left to federal agencies. Musk is one of President Donald Trump's top advisors when it comes to eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. His message came as Republicans publicly support his work at the Department of Government Efficiency. Trump weighed in after a cabinet meeting, saying he's instructed the department secretaries to work with DOJ, but to be very precise about which workers will stay or go.
Elon has been really teaching everybody about the numbers that you can do. But what I want the numbers, but I also want to keep the good people. We want to get rid of the people that aren't working, that aren't showing up, and have a lot of problems. And so they're working together with Elon, and I think we're doing a really great job. We're cutting it down. We have to, for the sake of our country. You can't have that kind of fat. It's bloat.
The president of a small federal agency that supports investment in African countries sued to block the Trump administration from shutting it down. Ward Brem, the president and CEO of the U.S. African Development Foundation, said in the lawsuit that DOJ and President Donald Trump do not have the authority to shut down the agency, which was created by Congress. The Trump administration has mandated Elon Musk's DOJ to shrink the size of the federal government and root out waste, fraud, and abuse. A South Carolina man convicted of murder is scheduled to be executed by a firing squad Friday night. Brad Sigmund beat to death his ex-girlfriend's parents with a baseball bat as part of a botched kidnapping plan in 2001. The 67-year-old man will be the first person to die by firing squad in the U.S. since 2010, and just the fourth since the death penalty resumed in the U.S. 49 years ago. 3 volunteer shooters positioned 15 feet away will fire bullets at a target over Sigmund's heart. The distance is the same as that between the free throw line to the backboard on a basketball court. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's Friday, and Billy and I are just about 20 minutes or so from wrapping this thing up. And the way we to just ease into the weekend is with a little cowboy poetry from Jeff Hildebrandt, our 710 KNUS resident poet laureate. He gets paid to just sit in a room and write poetry here at 710 KNUS.
Yeah, but we only let him out once a week. That's the truth. That's the thing. He gets paid to do it.
He's in the broom closet.
Yeah, he doesn't get the key. Yeah.
I have to clean up after your horse.
Jeffrey, you've got one on drink. Speaking of drinks.
I heard you guys talking about people talking about Mike Johnston's bartending, whatever. And I think you all should know before we get into this whole thing that you should warn your friends and neighbors. This must be understood. The government has research, and the news is not too good. Drinking vodka over ice can lead to kidney trouble, and any rum done on the rocks affects your liver double. I'm warning you to warn your friends so they will understand and make required adjustments to any parties they have planned. Those frozen margaritas cause more than just brain freeze, and drinking whiskey over ice can cause your heart to seize. The government spent millions. Now say what you should do is change your drinking habits, 'cause all that ice is bad for you.
Obviously the ice, yes.
Oh, and by the way,
that's great.
And for those new to Aurora, they want to make it clear you're free to drink if it's lukewarm, 'cause there's no ice welcomed here.
Oh, that's good.
That is
Nice
great.
Adam Aurora. That's fantastic.
Speaking of that, should we come up with a TDA drink?
Ooh.
And that's what we ask Mayor Mike
maybe.
to
Yeah. We'll have to figure
All
out
right.
that one. I'm making notes on that.
TDA drink. I'm gonna post this on X. And a TDA drink would be great, but no ice.
No
That's
ice.
got to be part of it.
Yeah, no ice. That's got to be great. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
I would say hot buttered rum.
Hot buttered rum.
Yeah,
What
no
I've
ice.
never even heard of that before.
Apparently you don't watch old movies.
No.
Well.
But cowboys drink whiskey, and I think most cowboys drink whiskey these days still, don't they?
Oh, no. No, cowboys don't drink whiskey anymore.
What do they drink?
No, it's, like parfait, little frou-frou drinks.
Have you been to the Cowboy bar at the National Western Stock Show?
No, I try to avoid that.
The Cowboy bar?
Yeah.
That is my favorite bar is at that one. All right, so next one, Cowboys on Concrete. This is in a tip of the hat, the Cowboys would say, to Darren Weekly.
Yeah,
right?
in recognition of Darren Weekly. Darren and I have known each other for a number of years. And when I met him here today, I thought, this might be a good poem. It's called Cowboys on Concrete. There are TV shows and movies about the cowboy way. I've heard people question if it's relevant today. Does the cowboy code of ethics really still apply? Do cowboys help the needy, or like others, pass them by? Do they stand up for the helpless, and when asked, they volunteer? Are they brave? Is there compassion? Do they act despite the fear? Have you seen a cowboy lately? I mean, have you really looked around to see who rides to help you out when all the chips are down? They're the ones who face down danger when others run away, the ones whose life is on the line, protecting us each day. But do you know the code of silence they maintain when they go home? To protect their loved ones from the truth, they carry it alone. One wife described it like a dance. They circle round the fear and hold each other tightly to keep away the tears. And yet, each time the call goes out that someone is in danger, these heroes saddle up and ride like modern-day Lone Rangers. 'Cause there's another feeling that they all get to share, that right now someone is alive. A child in danger did survive. A family won't be racked with grief. The city's safe from one less thief. Inside, they all share this belief. The world is better 'cause they're there. They're cowboys on the concrete. When you see one, pray God's grace will surround and will protect them from the dangers that they face. Thanking first responders is the least that we can do. After all, they risk their very lives protecting me and you.
Wow. I love it.
We got to send that one to the sheriff.
That
That's
is.
fantastic.
That's exactly right.
That's really cool. Man.
And a good reminder, too, when you see him go by. And I learned this from Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers would talk about when he was a kid, he'd get scared with the sirens. And his mom told him, no, those are the helpers. And so when you see him go by, and we do this as a family, say a prayer for him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done a ride along with a police officer.
Yes.
You get a sense just how much of a target they are out there.
Exactly. Exactly. A sitting target. I've felt the fear.
Yeah.
I rode along as a news reporter. I rode along with officers, and we answered a call to an upstairs, climb up a back alley stairway to a bar, and you walk into a dark bar and everything, and I'm thinking, I need to change my profession, because just riding along with them, no.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Jeff Hildebrandt, 710 KNUS Poet Laureate. He's got one more for us you're not going to want to miss. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show on Fridays as we wrap a wild week. By the way, this was an absolutely crazy week. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com. But as we wrap the week, we always like to bring in our Cowboy Poet Laureate, Jeff Hildebrandt, to help us get that cowboy saunter into the weekend. We've got a few minutes for one more poem. This one, I am a cowboy poet.
I am, yeah. I am a cowboy poet. Well, not the cowboy part. I don't spend days on horseback, but there's cowboy in my heart. I am a cowboy poet. I wear a wide brim hat, just like those 4 real cowboys do. I make darn sure of that. I am a cowboy poet. I use phrases like darn sure, all y'all, and adios to give my rhymes allure. I am a cowboy poet, and I love the out of doors, the glistening mountain glaciers, and the verdant valley floors. I love the smell of fresh-cut pine, the chill of mountain streams, and the sound of saddle leather. I'm busting at the seams with joy for all things cowboy, except the cowboy way of walking round in those high-heeled boots all the livelong day. But as a cowboy poet, I have to play the part, because folks expect the image when there's cowboy in your heart. It's sort of like a Christian, you know. There's joy but also pain when standing on God's principles while those around complain you're just a soggy blanket, a fool and not real smart. But you know God applauds the sacrifice when there's Jesus in your heart.
I love how you always bring it back to faith, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
That is great. Well, thank you to everybody that tuned in this week. Made it a fantastic weekend or a week. I encourage you, go to church, put Christ in your heart, just like Jeff Hildebrandt was talking about.
Yeah, had to get the ashes on my forehead Wednesday.
Yeah. Did you go?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in studio.
Yeah, no, but it's later in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was after. Yeah, I couldn't. Nobody. Oddly enough, they weren't holding services at 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah,
That's
true,
weird. Yeah.
true. Yeah, hard to get that before work.
Yes.
Well, again, we love you all. You made it a great week. Tell me what the TDA drink should be for Mike Johnston to make. I'm going to post that on x.com/Jeff Hunt. You can comment there.
Help us out.
Go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. Have a wonderful weekend. Caldera and Pete Boyles and Mike Boyle all coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are 710 KNUS.